adapting to new metas like class wide. Even now, like most people know Stal for Ellie, but we've been busting out him on Necro for some of the scrims and doing very well with that. So just based on how well the people on the team multi-class, I think we'll be able to adapt to a changing meta very well.
All right.
The main thing is adjusting to the differences in rotations as comps change.
All right. Well, any last shout outs or anything you'd like to say to your fans out there before we cut you off?
Rubber ducky, maybe?
Nah, I was just gonna shout out to Marvin. He knows why.
All right.
All
Well,
right.
thank you for joining us tonight. That was Ulrun from Never Lucky, taking out Zero Counterplay in 2-0 in that set. Now, looking forward at our next matchup, Team PZ up against Final Form. I think this should be a very exciting match.
I mean, definitely. It really kind of comes down to PZ needing these victories. They need to. This is kind of, I mean, granted, not necessarily their last hard match because you never know how teams are going to develop. As we just saw, Never Lucky coming through as a team, a whole new team, it seems. But, you know, Final Form is really kind of like the last team on the final frontier for them to actually move forward. And if they take this game and if Spooky loses to Absurd, then they'll be in a position to then take that second place spot and potentially move on to the finals.
And like you said, I believe their last two matchups are Easy Peasy and Zero Counterplay,
Yeah.
two teams that we saw today. And somewhat struggling, both lost, but even so, I think I agree with you that I think this is Team PZ's final obstacle in terms of trying to get it to that season finals. However, we're going to head to a short break, guys, and when we're back, we'll have Team PZ against Final Form. Stay with us.
You're no ordinary gamer. These are no ordinary gaming desktops. With a commitment to quality, uncompromising performance, and jaw-dropping design, Alienware pushes the limits to bring you the gaming experience you crave, because you demand nothing less than the ultimate gaming experience.
Welcome back, everyone, to the North American ESL Pro League for Guild Wars 2 as we have our next matchup ready for you guys. It's going to be Final Form up against Team PZ. Now, we discussed a little bit about these teams, but in depth, what do you think we can expect from them?
I expect some level of dominance from PZ, honestly. I mean, Final Form has been a team that established themselves early on as a team to look out for, but has been struggling as of late, hasn't really found their footing. PZ, on the other hand, has been getting better and better every single week. We saw them in the qualifiers just rampaging through everybody, and over time they have just bettered themselves exponentially. So I think PZ is probably going to get this. They've proven that they are one of the better teams, if not the best team, at running this current meta strat. Granted, Absurd is probably the best team.
100%.
However, I mean, with the composition that everyone's running, which is the double Mez, double Rev, PZ is probably one of the better teams at running that.
I agree entirely. I think they have two of the most dominant Revenants in the Pro League right now in K-Pud and Muffins, who have just been rampaging over all teams without a problem whatsoever. Let's go ahead and head into our first map on the Forest of Niflhel as we have both teams joining up here. It looks like all five are joined up for PZ, so why don't you take us away with them?
All right, looking first here at Zeus, going to be playing that Mesmer again, and he's going to be running that Sword, Shield, Staff with Soldier Amulet, Mercy Runes actually, and he's going to be running with Chaos, Inspiration, and Chronomancer. Next up, we have Marvin going to be opting for that Sword, Shield, Staff, going with Mercy Runes as well, with Soldier Amulet, going with Chaos, Inspiration, and Chronomancer. So a little bit of a radioactive setup here for this team. Going
People
with the
gave them
double,
slack about it.
yeah, definitely going with the double bunk with the Mercy Runes, just going for the res potential, and then having those two, actually three, or yeah, sorry, two guys who can kind of, I mean, this is literally almost an exact replication of a radioactive style comp. I mean, you have the two bunkers that can really help out in those team fights, can hold a cap by themselves for a long period of time. Then you have your two very high DPS that are also somehow good at sustaining in the form of those Revenants. The first being K-Pud, who's running Staff, Sword, Shield, Marauder Amulet, Scholar Runes, actually, Devastation, Invocation, Herald, yet another thing that we saw from Radioactive. The second being Muffins, and Muffins is going to be actually on the Viper's Amulet this time around, Sword, Shield, Mace, Axe, so two different forms of damage from these guys. Durability runes going with Corruption, Retribution, and Herald. And then that final slot is going to be going to Java, who can help out in these team fights by providing a lot of support. Yet another thing that we saw from Radioactive. So
He's
this
actually running 5 shots though over Lightning Flash.
Well,
so they already have a lot of mobility regardless. So
again, a thing that you see a lot with these style comps where you kind of want to play the team fight, and again, they also have those two Mesmers for portals, so Java can be wherever he wants to be whenever he wants to be there. So I mean, I definitely like that. It gives him another opportunity to get some Shocking Aura in there. It gives him a stun break. It gives him another Condi clear with those Soldier Runes as well. So I really like this setup. And this is the reason why they've been able to play so well, is that their composition is just so good.
And moving over to Final Form, who are bringing double Mesmer, triple Revenant. We saw triple Revenant from Zero Counterplay. You mentioned we would probably see that again. You were right.
I would say this isn't even the last time.
Zeromus is going to be running with the Staff, Sword, Shield, Rune of Durability, Soldier's Amulet for himself with that Chaos Inspiration, and Chronomancer. Ozzy going to be running something similar with the weapon sets. He's going to be running Rune of Mercy, though, over Durability. He's going to be running with the Soldier, still running Inspiration, Chaos, and Chronomancer. Keep in mind, he is running Time Warp, while Zeromus is going to be taking that Gravity Well. Urantian Mist is going to be one of 3 Revenants with the Staff, Sword, Shield, Rune of Lissa, Marauder Amulet taking that Retribution, Devastation, and Herald. Bob will be running basically the exact same build with the Lissa, Marauder, Retribution, Devastation, Herald as well. And Sup Cutie going to be playing that Condi Rev, taking the Sword, Shield with that Mace Axe. Durability, Viper's Amulet taking up Corruption, Retribution, and Herald for himself. So basically a very similar setup to what we saw in the last game in terms of 3 Revenants, but I'm interested to see how this is going to pan out for Final Form.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting to see how these guys build themselves, and this is actually a composition that I think we're going to be seeing a mirror of later in the day. We'll have to see what happens, but
later in the day. Well,
yeah,
I would have to anticipate. I'm guessing that's the next game.
The next game. 2 power revs and a condition rev has been proving over the break to be a definitely very strong approach to building a composition that's working in this meta.
All right, moving on to our map here as we have the opening split for game number 1 on the Forest of Niflhel. 4 Team PZ up against Final Form, looking down Now checking out what's going on the opening splits. It looks like Zeroma's going to get by without a problem, and Zeus, on the other hand, going to do the same as both teams looking to push 2 towards those side nodes. Now Zeroma's getting a little bit of pressure from K-Pud. Remember, he doesn't have that blink, actually, so have to use that staff to try and get there a little bit faster. Java going to land the emote, though, but oh, Zeroma's going to use that sword 3 to get onto the point just in the nick of time, as he also has Bob here as well, so neither team coming up with a cap in the opening split.
Yeah, it's going to come down to these team fights that are going to be lasting quite a while here. Zeromas is getting kind of low, taking a lot of pressure here. It does have his mantra that he can go ahead and channel here, so he's going to be looking pretty healthy for the time being. I expect that this is going to be one of the slower games of the day, as we are going to be seeing. Despite, a lot of the pressure coming out from this triple rev, both teams do have those really sustaining mesmers, so I'm not sure how, it's going to take a while before one of these teams cracks.
Moving over to the mine, taking a look at what's going on there. We already saw Time Warp being dropped on the side of, I believe that was out there from the blue team, as it looks like this is not really going a whole, it's not really going anywhere. Zupkity is obviously the main target coming out here for the blue team, but even so, we're a minute and a half in. Doesn't look like any other team's making a whole lot of leeway. Urantian at the midpoint in a 1v1 against Marvin, who seems to be basically feels like an evenly matched one here, as both these players getting relatively about the same health pools. But what do you think, adjustments coming out right from the get-go, what don't you like from both of these teams?
From both these teams, I think they're playing, it's hard to say something that I don't really like. From an objective standpoint, I think they're playing very defensively, so obviously that's really good for them, but at the same time, I think it's kind of slows the pace of the game a little bit too much from the standpoint that I'm at. So I would like to see them play a little bit more aggressively and make some try to make some plays, because they might have an opportunity at that point to then really kind of build a big point discrepancy here. But we did see Java actually taken out, so there's your first 5 points of the game over on Hinge. Looks like Final Form is going to get Hinge capped out if we don't see a res coming.
Which honestly, you had mentioned that this was going to be a slow-paced game, so getting a cap for Final Form is it's not just a cap, it's huge for them right now. And actually, Bob trying to sit on top of K-Pud, and there's a cap coming out there for Final Form.
And that's kind of the problem of playing defensively, is that if at any point you do lose the cap, it's going to be close to impossible for you to make an assault, an effective assault, where you can actually get that point back. We're going to be seeing it probably in just a moment here, where they do try to make a couple of plays to get over there, and it's just not going to work out. Subcutie is probably going to be going down here, as he did just blow all of his energy on some leaps at the same location there. So Zeus is going to go ahead and get that stomp off. Now PZ making some moves here, although Ozzy and Bob are both on this point, so I don't expect anything to happen all too soon. Again, a problem with playing that defensive approach. It's definitely a safe way to play, but just as we saw in the past with Radioactive, it's hard to make those, if you do start losing, it's hard to come back from that.
And even so, remember, this is the decap node, and it's the home node for Final Form. So that's really, it's not really too beneficial for Team PZ, unfortunately, who managed to get those 5 points from the stomp. But remember, their 5th is actually back up in the fight at this mine point. Muffin's now under a lot of pressure. Connie's taking on him. Resistance kept them alive for the time being, but of course, no problem whatsoever getting a res there. We do see a little bit of a rotation from K-Pud, who's looking to get a decap at the Henge. It looks like there's no portal here. Urantian is on his tail. Oh, that Shiro stance going to help him out, but isn't actually going to use it to get to him a second time, and might get a decap in the process. Surge in the Mist, not going to get him there in time.
Man, that wasn't good at all. They needed to make sure that they had that portal always ready available. If it comes down to a 1v1 between K-Pud and Urantian, I give that to K-Pud every single time. Urantian taking a lot of pressure already here, sitting at about 10% HP. Doesn't have too much left at his disposal. He does manage to get back into that Herald and immediately pops that glint heal, which was not the right move, as K-Pud's going to be able to see that. That's the thing. K-Pud is just too good as a player, and especially in a rev versus rev situation, to fall for things like that. As soon as you drop into Herald when you're extremely low like that, he's going to be able to see those things coming. You're going to lose that fight, and now they're going to be losing that easy lead that they already had because of a misplay in rotations.
100%. I don't think Urantian really needed to swap to the Herald. I think he should have probably stayed in Shiro. He would have had enough energy, I think, to use that teleport to K-Pud again to get onto the point in time. And he might have still lost the 1v1, but would have gotten some point income more for his team. And like you said, they need to have a portal up. They've got 2 mesmers for a reason. They got to be on top of that all of the time. And now they lost that point. K-Pud actually picking up a chieftain kill for themselves. They're going to be in the lead in just a matter of seconds.
Muffin's taking a lot of heat, though, here, as he is getting pretty low. It looks like he's going to be able to get right back up, though, as he does have Zeus and Marvin right there to make some plays. However, there's a ton of pressure coming out from Final Fantasy, or Final Form. Final Form, as they do take out Marvin as well.
That was a huge play. I mean, you said they were going to be able to get him back up, and you would have expected that, but a good knockback. Really good CC coming out there from Final Form, who are going to hold on to a cap now and have a 1 cap for both these teams. Moving into mid, we're going to see a big team fight from here.
Looks like at this point, with both of these teams now sitting at a 1-to-1 cap, it really kind of comes down to this mid fight where K-Pud's going to probably be able to get pretty healthy rather soon. SupCutie is definitely going to be the target for this PZ team, as they do unleash a lot of pressure down on top of him. He doesn't have anything left here, so they're going to try to take him down. If at any point SupCutie does go down, though, they're probably going to be able to get the res. However, he's looking okay at this point. He's going to portal back out and help his teammate Urantian with that fight against Muffins. And now Muffins is just going to try to have to use a bunch of dodges here to stay alive, but not really going to be staying alive for too much longer, as he is going to get dropped rather soon.
Taking a look over at the Henge, yes, he's going to be in the down state. Does have a rotation from Java. He should be able to get there in time as Muffins use that knockback. Now Java probably going to go in for the res onto him. Will we see the stomp connect? I think so. Java just going to try and cleave out Urantian and SupCutie in the process. Probably the better of the moves, because he's able to hold on to this. Remember, this is their home node. I think he should be able to hold on to this, given the fact that these two Revenants are pretty low until his member comes off of respawn, unless they're able to get a Surge of Mist, get him off the point for that matter. But regardless, really nice CC coming out there. He's actually going to opt to get off the node. He thinks that's the better move, and I actually agree with that. Didn't want to get taken out there. Now they're going to have the 2v3 advantage. Actually, rotations coming out for both these teams as we see both Mesmers, 1 per team, rotate over to this Henge node. Actually, Ozzy going to come back to the portal. Oh, there's another portal. Bob coming back. That was an interesting rotation coming out there from both these teams. The back of the Henge, we actually saw Urantian going to be taken down. I think he's going to be eliminated from this fight, and it could be going in favor of PZ here.
Yeah, and SupCutie being left here does have his teammate Ozzy in the area, so he is going to be able to have some support, but it's just a matter of time, at least in my opinion, until he does go down as well, or at least is forced off of this. It looks like Ozzy taking a little bit of pressure, so if he ever does go down, he's not going to have anything at his disposal. I mean, look at Ozzy's cooldowns right now. Has literally nothing at this point in time. Does drop that time warp there, so now he does have indeed nothing.
I think he has a portal to get out of there. It might be connected to the mid node. Fortunately, no way of telling that. Java, though, looking to rotate over to that mine point. There is a portal down. Is anybody going to come through it is the real question, because Java knows that he's going to get on the point, show the markers on the map, and nobody's going to come through. There's the decap node. So no one go through that portal. It's going to be a free cap coming out there for Java, and this is really a crucial time in this game, I think, for both of these teams.
Ozzy getting kind of low here, and all members of PZ are just all over him here, as we do see Muffins, as well as K-Pud and Zeus just crashing all over him. It looks like they are going to try for that stomp, and they do actually make it connect. So Ozzy does fall. He's going to have a long way to walk if he does want to walk back into this fight. I expect them to probably pull out of this one, as they are going to be facing a 3v2 here. Bob taking a lot of pressure right now, as he is going to be trying to block a lot of that, but now he's going to be taking a lot of that as soon as he comes back
rotated out of the fight, though. I don't think it's wise for Urantian to really follow up on that. Help his teammate out, and like you said, Ozzy, a long walk, but he might be able to make it there in time. I don't think that was a good play from Urantian, because now he could have helped out Bob, at least, to say the least, for that matter, and now he's going to get stomped out. Urantian went to the midpoint, wanted to make sure his teammate didn't get 1v2, but I think Zeromus is a good enough Mesmer to hold that off for a little bit. Regardless, in the end, it might end up, they might end up being okay. K-Pud looking for a kill on the Chieftain here is not going to be contested whatsoever. Going to pick that up, now only down 2 points in this game, as we see Muffins actually rotating over to the mine to help out against SupCutie.
Yeah, and he's going to be able to take that one. Looks like Bob's probably going to add to it, though, unless he does follow it. No, he does. He is going to add to that. Oh man,
there's just back. Not a whole lot of communication, I don't think.
No, it was not a communication issue. That was actually just Bob making a mechanical error. He ported to the wrong person.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, that
they picked up on the cap, though.
Yeah.
So that ultimately, Muffin's probably not one to stick around until he gets some help. Remember, he hasn't reset yet or anything. Take a look at the mid node, though. Actually, Henge. Let's take a quick look at Henge. It looks like it might actually be capped, as Urantian is probably going to go down here in a matter of seconds. Has that heal up in just 1 second. Is going to be able to get it off and sustain himself for a little bit longer. Also has a shield, so he should be okay against Zeus here. That's very unfortunate. On the other side of the map, though, Bob in the down state. K-Pud trying to put out some deeps, but Ozzy in the area to get that res.
Yeah, it's just extremely hard to out DPS, the res potential of a Mesmer right now. I mean, they go for that res. They have the feedback come out. It's going to give them resistance. They have the quickness. They have distortion if they need it. They have stab if they need it. I mean, there's so many ways that they can make sure that that res actually goes all the way through and they get their teammate back up. So it's very, very hard, especially if they can put some slow out. I mean,
especially the slow, because you could try to use that Herald Elite to get the knockback in the feedback bubble, but it's oftentimes very difficult because that slow is out there, so you can't really do anything about it. 100% agree with that. At the midpoint, though, we have a huge fight going on. It looks like some damage trying to get onto K-Pud, but K-Pud not having any of it, not taking any damage whatsoever. Zeromus is under a little bit of pressure, has his heal up in a couple seconds, is getting trained down big time though, but K-Pud's pressure is relentless all game long, and on top of Zeromus, who has nothing left, his heal not up for another 5 seconds. He might be under some pressure to get back to this henge node. He's doing a good job. Of course, he is a Mesmer, so he's going to stay alive for quite some time. Just look at the score, though. 65 points, 4 minutes left. A cap from Final Form, who is the underdog in this game. PZ, who is a potential contender for a top 2 spot. I know this is only game 1, but what do you take from this right here?
I mean, Final Form is just trying to prove that they're the team that we kind of wanted them to be at the beginning of the season. They've struggled a little bit recently, but they're kind of coming back and showing that they have something to prove still. I mean, Bob really kind of coming through. Bob was, at least in my opinion, one of the players that Final Form really kind of to make sure, you know, got back to where the skill level needed to be at. And
I get you, yeah, 100%. I mean, even so, there are members on, there's multiple members on the team of Final Form who aren't even on their main classes, aren't even on classes. Of course, Revenant, you know, it's a newer class, so it's not like it's anybody's bread and butter for the longest time or anything like that, but the decap actually is going to come out. Muffin's able to get Ozzy off that node over at the mine point. So this henge fight, I think, is going to be where things can turn in favor of PZ if they're able to win the fight.
Garantian is going to be looking to maybe pull back into this fight here, as he does see that his teammate is getting kind of low here, as Bob does actually get stomped out. So blue team now has an opportunity to maybe take out Urantian and Subcutie and perhaps actually get a cap back, but with only 2 minutes and 40 seconds left, they don't have a lot of time left. So even if they get that cap, it's probably going to be stalemate for the rest of the game. They have an opportunity, but it might actually come down to boss kills.
That could definitely be the case. Marvin going to be in a 1v2 though. Actually, no. Zeromus leaving to go back to the henge. We see K-Pud once again going for that easy chief to kill. No one for the red team going to be around to contest. It's going to give them an easy 25 points without a problem. Oh, is he able to get a decap? Maybe Zeromus. No, forces the portal from Zeus though. And now there's going to be a huge fight over at the mine point where Muffins and Java have to hold off until they get help. Otherwise, this is going to go in favor of Final Form. We are coming down to the final 2 minutes. If things play out as is right now, PZ could definitely come up with a win. But remember, there still is that Spawnier kill, and K-Pud is probably looking for it.
Yeah, but Zeromus is going to get that stomp off on Marvin.
Ooh,
they're going to be able to get that mid cap. So their hopes in taking this one, at least for now, are looking okay, as K-Pud is going to come in, and Zeus actually, and I like this actually from PZ, being able to come in and cover that play. Unfortunately, Marvin dying. I think they're going to be able to at least have Marvin come up, and I'm not really sure why Zeromus made this
slow rotation. He did pull off K-Pud for at least the time being, and Marvin's off a respawn, so maybe Zeromus throws down a portal and leaves, but so will Marvin for that matter. And now we have Ozzy watching K-Pud, watching his rotation. The lead will shift in favor of Team PZ in a matter of seconds. We are at 1:15 left. Urantian in the downstate. Is the stomp going to come out? Oh, it does come out. That is huge, as now they have one of their revenants off the map. Bob is under a lot of pressure as well. He might be taken down. Has a shield block up in a second. Is going to use it. Is going to be okay, but this is now PZ's game if they want it.
Yeah, I am not sure if I like what Zeromus did there, pulling off, rotating straight into Marvin there. Didn't really accomplish much. I mean, if they're able to take Zeus out here, then maybe it'll work out because he'll be able to portal out. I mean, maybe that was the idea in the beginning, but I'm just not sure about it. They could have won this fight a lot sooner. They are going to be going for the stomp, and he will have the portal, so they could actually make a play off this. Zeromus
they get that
cap.
They're going to get the cap, and it's going to come down to Spawnier, I think. We have both the Revenants moving towards Spawnier right now. This is going to be everything. We've got 5 Revenants, all 5 Revenants at Spawnier right now. This is it. Whoever
Red team's
gets this
taking it.
wins
Red
the
team's
game.
taking it. Red team is taking it.
Oh, Final Form comes up with it. They're going to have a 9-point lead right now. 15 seconds remaining in the game. 2 kills for PZ would do it, but I think they know it is over in Final Form. with
Oh,
the
man.
upset on Force of Niflhel.
And you know, members of Spooky are watching this game with their eyes glued to the screen thinking, maybe this is it. Maybe Final Form can take this game and give them a better chance at going to that season final, because that's what it comes down to. If PC wins this game, Spooky's shot at getting to the final is drastically decreased.
100%. It's just like, because they play Abjured, that's why Spooky's chances, if PZ wins out, Spooky's chances, if they lose to Abjured and win their other 2 matches, PZ has the head-to-head matchup. And given that, Spooky is really rooting for Final Form here.
Oh, yeah, they are. Oh, yeah, they are. And, I mean, this is the team where Spooky needs to, I mean, they're really hoping this game goes in favor of Final Form, because like we were talking about before, Final Form is that kind of final frontier where it's kind of the last team that really has a really good shot at taking PZ down. And they're proving right now that they have what it takes. And, I mean, granted, a couple of mistakes here from actually both sides in terms of rotational miscues, but, I mean, still, Final Form managed to get that first win on that first map there. So going into Legacy of the Foe Fire, I'm not sure if I really kind of expect anything to be played out differently in terms of how they rotate, how they play in these team fights, but we'll have to see. I expect PZ to have some kind of change coming out, because they're never a team that's just going to accept a loss like that. They always have to make an adjustment. So it'll be interesting to see how they kind of deal with these triple revenants. That's actually been a big problem for them. And we'll see what happens, I guess.
Well, let's move on to the Legacy of the Foe Fires. We have both teams joining up, waiting to start this game number 2, as we're waiting on the 5th of PZ to join up. Could we see something different? I highly doubt it. I think we're just going to see a different approach overall throughout the game through Team PZ. And, you know, how do they deal with the 3 Revenants and the 2 Mesmers? There's so much mobility there. How do they deal with it?
Well, I mean,
not
really,
to say they don't have the mobility on their side, but ultimately, I just don't know. That was a tough loss.
I think a lot of the problem is the fact that in some cases Java isn't necessarily where he should have been, and that's not really a problem with Java. It's just a problem that's more inherent with the fact that the Revenants could be anywhere that they want. So if at some point Java does go where he should be, those Revenants can quickly change that to be he's where he shouldn't be, because of how quickly they can get between point to point. So in that case, Java was getting pressure. He wasn't able to help out in some of those team fights as much as he possibly could have. And there's a lot of pressure that comes out of these Revenants that can potentially take this this particular profession down very, very quickly. There's a lot of spike damage. There's condition pressure. So, I mean, Java is definitely, I mean, we talked about Aerodynamic being one of the better elementalists, and I think that Java also falls in that same category of just a really solid player, rotationally incredibly smart as well. But in this aspect, when you're going up against a composition like this where everybody can be anywhere at any given time, I think the Tempest kind of falls short a little bit because of how the Tempest works in terms of, you know, you want to kind of focus on team fights with it. It doesn't bunk as well as the Mesmers do. So I think they really need to make sure that Java is played correctly in his particular role to really get the most out of him so that they can take this win and move it on to Game 3 in Kylo.
Just waiting on all 10 guys to go ahead and ready up and get underway with our Legacy of the Foe Fire. Now, if PZ ties it up at 1-1, we will be heading to the Battle of Kylo, which we are yet to see today. So we're back to the original map rotation. So should be very exciting, to say the least, on this map. What differences we see. I mean, of all maps, Legacy of the Foe Fire is the one to time out, if any. And we timed out the last game. So moving on to this one, I am expecting something of similar nature. The opening minutes, I don't expect a cap until 3, 4, even up to 5 minutes into this game. Even points, for that matter, come out for either team.
Well, the good thing about this map is that you can really kind of take advantage of some of the rotations and really kind of spread people thin. And if Final Form is able to take advantage of the fact that Java can't do what the Revenants and the Mesmers can do, then they'll be able to outnumber one of these fights and really kind of take advantage of that and maybe get an early cap, something like 2 minutes into the game. But like you were saying, I don't really expect a cap anywhere before that time frame. And I also think that PZ is going to be winning this one, so I'm not really sure about that. I mean, Final Form does have an opportunity, and that's the way that they're going to be able to get it if they do get it. But I think that they won't be able to really effectively punish anything that Java does, and I think that PZ is going to be able to come out with this one, and we're going to be seeing a Game 3 on Kylo.
I'm going to put my money on Final Form. I was wrong last time, but I think that we'll see really good opening play from Final Form like we did in the last game. I think they're going to hit 350 maybe. This definitely, I mean, it could be a timed out game, maybe not, but even so, I think their Lord push is significantly stronger with the triple Revenant, and I think it definitely could come, I think it will come down to that, to be honest, as it did come down to that spawner kill in the last game. I think it's going to come down to the secondary objective here. As we wait for all these guys to go ahead and ready up, get underway with this second match. Our third set of the day. Still have one following this. That would be the Absurd up against Spooky, number 1 versus number 2. Both these teams sitting at a 2-2 record. PZ, we had talked consistently about how they are a top dog, one of the guys looking to move on into onto the season finals. But you know, with Spooky still on their way, they have to pick up the victory today. Otherwise, it could be rough from here on out for them. Something I'd like to see from Team PZ, actually from Final Form this game, from both of them for that matter, is a little bit more coordination, I'd say, between their Revenants. It felt like K-Pud was an absolute monster throughout that game, but I don't feel like he was ever in sync with Muffins like they had been in the past, just moving together, maybe not all the time, but like on the same page and like, okay, let's get on him and burst him instantly and get him down, because we've seen that from them in the past, especially in the last set, or the last week that we had in Pro League for week 4 rather. These two were just on top of target, so I didn't really see that this game. So moving into this one on the Legacy of the Fofar, that's something I would definitely like to see from them. And it looks like we might have a little bit of a delay here, just waiting on these guys to get some of this stuff sorted out. Just running back through what we saw in the last game. Definitely a pretty intense, very close one at the end, as Final Form picking up that spawner kill. They had 3 Revenants over there, all 5 Revenants out of the 10 players in this game over at that spawner, and just a 1-up on PZ at the end there, being there at the better time, having 2 guys there, having a Revenant even to hold off the other Revenants for that matter, with their CC and whatnot, doing an excellent job. As Hurix had consistently said, Final Form's got this, they've got this kill, it's their game to take, and now it's just nothing we really expected from them. Final Form moving into this game, I knew it was going to be a good game, I had thought that, but I didn't think that Final Form would be able to pull off a victory against PZ, who had looked so dominant, had so much time to prepare against Final Form. I mean, looking at their next 2 matchups against Easy Peasy, Lemon Squeezy, and Zero Counterplay, this was the match they knew was going to be the toughest. They knew they had to win this match, and I would have expected, and it's not like they haven't lost the match yet or anything, but I would have expected, you know, maybe a little bit more dominance coming into the game, because they knew that this was it. They had to win this game, and something they definitely needed to do. And losing the first one, moving into map 2, we'll have to see if they're going to be able to change their mindset and come out with a victory.
Yeah, just a little technical issue here that we're helping Team PZ work out, and as soon as that is ready, which will just be moments away, we'll be able to go on with game 2 here. Final Form versus PZ. Final Form, of course, up 1-0. And talked about it a little bit. We said we made our predictions. I'm pretty sure that PZ is going to be taking this. I explained how Final Form could potentially come back, but and take this game too. And of course, Spooky is really hoping that does pan out. But I think that PZ is really going to be taking this. I think it'll be a little close. I also agree with you that you know, it's going to be a while before we do see a cap. It's going to be a while before we see any team really kind of taking this away. And it's going to come down to you know, whether or not Final Form can come through and make a Lord push and make it really work, because I think that with that 3 Rev, 2 Mez, I think they really kind of want to play that, at least that particular part of this game, very aggressively, and I do agree with you in that respect as well. But you know, that in terms of how this game, or what this game means in the grand scheme of things, of course, we already talked about the implications of you know, Spooky, as well as potentially even Apex, depending on how the game works out, you know, later on. It could really kind of mean a lot also for Final Form, because if Final Form drops this game, they're sinking very quickly, and they're going to be getting close to that point where they're having to worry then about you know, being relegated. And this is a team that is doing very well, at least throughout the entirety of the season. You know, had a couple of times where they stumbled a little bit, but now taking games off of a team like PZ, where, you know, looking at the standings, PZ doesn't seem that, you know, strong, but looking at it objectively, PZ is definitely one of the top teams out here. So
I mean, you look at the standings. So this is kind of the ordeal between Spooky, PZ, and Apex. So, you know, Spooky's sitting at that 3-1 record, but they have the Absurd. So if they do drop that, they'll be sitting 3-2 and have to win their next 2 to sit at the 5-2. it was anticipated that Team PZ would, you know, they've got the upper hand kind of playing easy peasy. Not to say, you know, they're 100% guaranteed to win because of seeing how they played against Final Form, who definitely has impressed us nonetheless. But assuming they were able to win those, they already have the head-to-head against Spooky. And if they're able to, if they lose against Final Form, Spooky will still have that one up on them if they win their last 2 games, or even beat the Abjured for that matter. So that's why Spooky is wanting these guys, these Final Form teams, to take out PZ, so they don't have to worry about that head-to-head they lost against PZ, because if they're tied at the end of the season, it will go in favor of PZ. But it looks like we do have that game number 2 going to be starting up here on the Legacy of the Faux Fire, as we do have Final Form up 1-0. Let's go into the map and take a look at our opening splits for both of these teams, who are looking to come out with a victory here. I'm anticipating, yeah, at least we hope. They're looking to come out with, you know, something like that. A 2-point push coming out there to the quarry for both teams, Mez and Revenant. So we're going to see a lot of Mez Revenant matchups. Ooh, okay, we're not going to see a 3-point push coming out here for the red team. Did they have a disconnect?
No, Zeromus is now making that move.
Oh, they've got
over
the
there.
3-person. Oh, okay, so someone was covered up on my map. They had the 3-person push from their team. So they're all their symbols were missed up there. So regardless, they got the 3-point push coming out from both teams, and game is starting as anticipated.
Yeah, so now it's going to be Ozzy and Supcutie versus Zeus and Muffins. Right now we are seeing actually PZ do quite well in this matchup here. Supcutie taking a little bit of pressure, is going to be able to get a little bit of a heal though, so he's going to be able to stay up. And again, the Revenant is definitely one of the better assassins in terms of being able to, you know, sustain itself over a long period of time.
Red got the cap. Whoa, that's unfortunate for PZ.
Oh, yeah, I think that was actually, let's see actually what the cooldown here is. Zeus, yeah, I think Zeus let that one go with a continuum split perhaps, and that actually, that's
really rough. I mean, I was noticing they had 1 tick left. I'm like, okay, PZ notices this. They know they can't get up this cap, and that's, honestly, it's one cap, but that's a rough start. Regardless, Urantian is the main focus here for Team PZ. Has a few defensive cooldowns left. If he needs to use them, has a lot of help still. He's sitting on top. Him and Supcutie are all over Muffins. That's a pretty good push for them.
Oh, they're looking good now. Muffins is going to probably fall. He doesn't have his heal, does have his block though to get him to that point at which he can use that cooldown. So he's going to be able to get back up to about 80% HP now, turn some counter pressure down, and now it is going to be Supcutie. He needs to make sure that he's going to be able to stay alive. Does come out of that block looking pretty healthy as well. And he's now focusing once again on Muffins, going with that unrelenting assault. Muffins once again getting down to about 10% HP, doesn't have his heal up, just switched off of his heal with the least cooldown now, so he has to wait 5 seconds before he can actually get over there. Does have his shield coming up right now though, so he's going to be able to get back up to about 50%.
18 stacks of Torment on him, and thankfully it's some Condi clear after that resistance was, you know, wore off on him. But regardless, Final Form starting off with a pretty solid lead. Nonetheless, Zeus looking to make a push towards the quarry, perhaps, is going to use his blink to get there. Actually doesn't have blink, used the staff rather to get there, and Supcutie knows they can't allow for this decap to happen like they did in the last game. Meanwhile, Ozzy was taken into the downstate, and I don't think they have any chance of getting him back up.
I mean, all they need to do is just sustain for as long as possible, and then just kind of hold this game exactly where it is right now. Bob right now is going to be not in the position where he wants to be. I mean, they definitely need to make sure that they get one of the Mesmers over towards this mid node so that they can potentially get some help. But Ozzy is down, so it's just going to be up to Zeromus, who is over there on Waterfall taking the 1v1 versus Java. Not really sure if that's the right rotation, as they did lose Urantian, and now they're going to be losing Bob as well. Mesmer would have been way better, and then swapping one of the Revenants out for that Waterfall fight to help against Java. That would have been...
Oh man, that's unfortunate. Yeah. Really good portal, really good awareness, as Ozzy not going to make it on to that point in time. Graveyard is going to be not capped just yet, as Supcutie is in the area. It's still a couple ticks away, a few ticks away. He's going to get some help from Urantian. Still, 11:30 left in this game, just a few minutes into this one, and I think that decap, that's basically the same thing that happened in the last game, just a little bit of a late rotation. Ozzy off a respawn, not going to be able to do anything. Now in a 1v1 against Marvin, that's not going to go anywhere anytime soon. Back at this midpoint though, what's going on?
Yeah, at the midpoint, it's going to be a big fight where PZ is actually going to be taking a pretty sizable lead here, as they are going to be able to get Urantian down kind of low, but they're going to leave that to a 1v1, so that actually is going to wind up being stalemated as opposed to them winning it rather quickly and moving over towards that quarry, as we did see final form moving over towards that quarry and try to take out Marvin here, and now it looks like they're going to be taking Java instead. So they are trying to still exploit Java there. Doesn't look like that's working out for them, at least for the time being, as on the other side of things, we are seeing Urantian taking a lot of pressure over on the graveyard.
This isn't too big of a lead for Final Form. PZ shouldn't be too worried. I mean, in the end, if things play out as they exactly are, it could come down to a Lord kill for him or something, or just one cap will get them easily back into this game. So PZ shouldn't be worried. They've definitely, you know, shown some signs of life at the midpoint, already picking up 3 kills this game. And with that, I really think that PZ can get something going here at the quarry. But Java, like you said, trying to exploit him. He has like no cooldowns left, has his heal up in a second. Blackguardy going to help him get that up just a little bit sooner. He's going to be okay. Back to safety as Subcutie is now under a lot of pressure as well. Him and Urantium seem to be the main focus points for the blue team.
Yeah, over here on the quarry, we are seeing Java getting kind of low. He does have his overload there, so he's going to get a quick heal there from getting that aura out with that Tempest ability there. But Subcutie now taking some pressure. He might actually go down a little bit sooner than Java, of course, as he is back up at 100% HP. The healing that Java puts out is just absolutely insane here, so he's going to be able to sustain with Marvin for so long. I mean, it might take a while for them to actually win this fight, but over time, they do have the advantage.
With that, I mean, I'm just very surprised Marvin and Java are actually nearly picking up kills onto these 2 Revenants here, who are trying to help sustain themselves, rotate in and off the points when they're getting low, get in, get out, and they're doing a good job of that. But let's just take a quick peek at the midpoint where it looks like Ozzy is under a lot of pressure, has his heal up in a couple seconds, but regardless, is getting pretty low. Needs to be careful. He has a lot of pressure coming onto him from K-Pud, who is the master of keeping up that relentless assault, and a lot of pressure onto these guys. Muffin still in that 1v1 against Zeromus, which has been basically a stalemate all game long. He's trying to make some way with it, as Zeromus still has a few cooldowns, still has that distortion and gravity well, so he should be okay regardless here.
Yeah, Ozzy played that really well. He knew that that unblockable trait was going to proc from that Revenant there, so he went straight into an evasion from the block, cutting the block early so he could stay alive, and in the process he is going to look a lot healthier, and he's going to follow up that pursuit over towards the waterfall, as K-Pud is now trying to take Zeromus out. Muffin's at about 50% HP though, so if they're going to be able to get Ozzy in there, they can just swap those 2 guys out. That's going to be really good for them, at least for the time being, as Ozzy has maybe a little bit more cooldowns at his disposal.
Well, he dropped the portal, so I believe Zeromus can bring him through and get back to that waterfall. If they want to 1v2 that, he'll be perfectly fine with that. So it's a really good. There's the portal actually. He's going to do exactly as I just said. Now he's going to be back through, and he might actually just walk right back over here, as he held off both Muffins and K-Pud for the time being. Zeromus has a few cooldowns left. He's going to use his null field there, and needs some help now. He needs to get a rotation over here. They have the +1 elsewhere, but that +1 is just another Mesmer, and trying to do what he can. Has another gravity well. He's going to throw it down both of them. Hits them both. Wow, a lot of damage actually coming out from Zeromus. Got to give him credit on that. That was well played on his end. Now Urantian going to rotate here just in time for him.
That was really well played by Zeromus. Of course, it did use pretty much all of his cooldowns to get it there, but it was enough pressure to then allow Urantian to make that rotation over and potentially take K-Pud out off the rotation.
Ooh,
and he does actually manage to take him down, and now Muffins isn't going to be in a position to actually make a play off of that, so Zeromus is going to be in a really good position to just keep sustaining on this point. Really, really good play from him, and
I mean, that was probably one of the coolest plays I've seen from Zeromus in the Pro League in a long time, for that matter. It was well orchestrated for that matter, and K-Pud being taken off, and possibly even Muffin. Zeus actually going to plus this fight, leaving a 2v1 for Java at the midpoint. No, Ozzy's going to come now and make that a 1v1, so we're going to have a huge team fight start to develop over at the waterfall. We're under 7 minutes left in this game, and I mean, this could come down to both teams looking for a Lord kill.
Yeah, and in that regard, I kind of give it to Red Team. I think they have just a little bit too much pressure. If they're able to make a play, and PZ isn't able to make a rotation quick enough, I mean, of course, Final Form's going to get that kill almost instantly. We saw it just in the last match there with those triple rev, just so much damage that they could potentially put out. And over on the quarry here, we are seeing Bob getting put into a situation that he definitely doesn't want to be in here with Marvin and K-Pud. Even if it was just K-Pud, I would give that 1v1 to him. But now, of course, with the Mesmer support
nice
as well.
Knockback. Yeah, he is getting that support from Ozzy, who made a pretty quick rotation. Good communication coming out there from Final Form.
Oh no, Ozzy missed the unrelenting assault, so that's gonna take away from the potential evade frames that he could have, and now he's gonna be left with not too much left at his disposal here as he's just trying to stay alive, and he's now at about 20% HP.
He has his heal up in a second. Get it off. He had it. Oh, man, he
Oh,
barely
the
gets it off.
distortion takes away from the heal, though, so now he's going to be forced into a block. K-Pud going to be trying to keep the pressure up on top of him, and now all he has defensively are just dodge rolls now, and until he can at least get a heal off, and he does have the energy to make that happen.
As soon as he goes down, I'm fairly confident Ozzy's going to get this res with ease. Marvin's actually under a lot of pressure for that matter, so even though, oh, he might actually be taken down. No, Marvin is going to be okay for that matter. But around the map, I mean, look at the health pools coming out here for Final Form. Urantian's low, Bob's low, but they've held on. They've got 520 left in this game. What do you think some rotations need to, where are the rotations not happening from either of these teams to make something happen?
Well, the problem is with these two teams, the way that they've set themselves up, the rotations, I mean, while they can be fast, there's nothing really that they can do, because if at any point they make a quick rotation off, they're leaving something else open. So how they're rotating right now is actually kind of fine. I mean, I'm sure there are definitely, you know, maybe one or two ways that they can maybe switch people around and then gain favor in some of these fights. Of course, that will always be an option, but at least in terms of where people are going to be, this is kind of what you expect. I mean, there's situations where you can't have the best of all the worlds, and I mean, this is exactly what I'm talking about, but both teams are doing very well with what they've got, and there's not really a whole lot that you can do because of the way that they're playing, at least with their composition.
And if things were to come down to the wire here, look at where Team PZ is. They've got, for damage, they've got K-Pud. Oh, actually, SubQD, okay, take it down. I was going to say, they've got K-Pud over there, and they've got Marvin to take down the Lord. Java is at the midpoint. That's not a lot of damage. They're missing Muffins, who's over here at the waterfall, who probably could get there in a decent amount of time. Now, on the other end of things, Final Form, they have one of their Revenants over here at the waterfall, actually, with Zeromus, one of the Revenants at the mid node. So I feel like it's pretty even in terms of who's going to be able to get to that Lord in time, because it is definitely going to be coming down to it as we're now 4 minutes left in this game.
Oh, Marvin manages to get the stomp off on Bob with the quickness there. Ozzy didn't have the slow to counter that one, so now he's going to be looking to try to stay alive in this 1v2 without a lot of the cooldowns that he kind of needs to make sure that he can actually perform that task. And now they are potentially going to lose this node entirely, as it looks like K-Pud's going to be trying to finish that one off. Ozzy's just all over the place trying to stay alive, and it is going to work, at least for now, as he is going to be able to get his shield block off. He does have the heal up, and he does also have Continuum Split as well.
Bob's here just in time to save the day. SubQD, though, was taken out at the waterfall. Zeromus is now against Zeus, so they got themselves an extra 5 points, which isn't going to do much, but remember, Urantian's now being plussed against Muffin and Java. Has a lot of room to work with at this midpoint, but he doesn't, oh, look at the Condi's taking on him. Those are going to take him down and take him out. We will see a rotation from, oh man, Ozzy is going to be caught out as well, and this could be brutal for Final Form, but remember, they already have the lead. Even if they lose a node or two, they still could go to the Lord and get the kill and win the game.
Yeah, they definitely could, but PZ is just barreling down on Quarry, where it's just Bob here left alone. And, I mean, they're going to lose him right now. Stomp is going to come off, and they are potentially going to be losing Quarry as well as Graveyard. You said, you know, there's still enough time for them to come back. Yes, that's true, but since they're still kind of playing defensively, they still have, I mean, granted, they still have a lot of damage in the form of those 3 Revenants, but getting through, you know, Zeus or Marvin or Java is going to take so much of their resources. For them to actually stop it is going to be a very, very difficult task for them to do.
And they know it's coming by now.
And SubQD dropping as well there, so.
They have to know it's coming. There's nothing that Final Form is going to be able to do here aside from go for Lorca. And they can't afford to have their Revenants hunt respawn. Like, look at where Urantian's at right now. He's got no help anywhere in the middle of the map right here. SubQD's down, he just gets stomped at the midpoint. This is a brutal spot for them to be in, and Urantian trying to get a decap potentially, but we will see that lead shift in favor of Team PZ. Bob is over here at the waterfall in a 1v1 with Zeromus now, or Zeus, excuse me, and he's going to have to at some point go for that gate, or at least they've got 135 remaining in this game. They can win with the Lord kill, but I'm assuming the same is going to happen from PZ, or they're just going to have a full-on defense on that end.
Yeah, I mean, if they go full defense, there's there's definitely going to be the potential of them being able to sustain that. I expect all of red team to just go straight for an aggressive push. It looks like they are
There's the
making that
portal, yeah.
rotation. The portal does come out, so they are going to be going for it. And we do see actually blue team pulling off.
Whoa, this
Oh,
is a,
man.
this is, I think, okay, PZ's got this one. There's one guy in defense for Final Form who are barreling down both doors. Actually, no.
A little bit too early on this execution. I mean, if they would have waited, there was no chance for blue team to make a counter push there. They have the damage. They should have kept it basically they should have just kept it in their sleeves there and just never let it go until it was just the last second, because they are going to get this kill. But of course, blue team is going to do just the same on the other side of the map, and that
we're going to be moving to game number 3. That was too early.
Yep, there it is. So way too early on popping that for sure. And now blue team is definitely going to be winning this one. There's no hope at all for Team Final Form. And we are going to be moving on to Kylo with both teams tied at 1 here. So it's just a matter of time, 20 seconds actually, before PZ takes this one.
Oh, we both had kind of anticipated something like that going to be happening, and now that it happened, I mean, it was a tough call though for Final Form, because they had the portal down, probably like, okay, we got to do it now, guys, because we're expecting them to defend. But little did they know, 4 guys from PZ actually ended up being 3, as Marvin stayed around and protected their 2 nodes. Ended up coming back to kill the Lord for them, and going to be tying it up 1-1. And for the first time this week, we will be heading to the Battle of Kylo with these guys.
Yeah, so great game, at least from both of these teams. Unfortunately, I mean, forcing yourself to play so defensively, forcing yourself to play so slow, I mean, it definitely works out well in your favor in terms of, being safe and making sure that you don't have to really kind of, I mean, if at any point they do make a mistake, it's easy to kind of cover up. They have the Revenants and the Mesmers to then, make sure that they make the right rotations. If they do mess them up, it's easy to fix them very quickly. So I like that. The one thing though is that they struggled to get back, and that's again a problem with the composition. So I mean, if at any point Final Form does get a lead here, I would like to see them hold on to it a little bit longer than they did.
They can't afford to drop it this time. I mean, they dropped it in the first game, but ended up with, getting kind of lucky and getting that spawner kill, but it didn't work out for them. And there's, like you're about to say, there's no secondary map mechanic in this game that's going to give them that point boost. So it's all about the nodes here.
Well, talking about the secondary map mechanic, I mean, of course, there is that trebuchet that they could put into play. And again, they do have that triple Revenant, so they do have a little bit more mobility across the map. Of course, both X, Y, and Z axes. So, I mean, they are going to be able to do that, and they could potentially have that Treb come into play where they're going to be able to then put it on the Tempest. The Tempest isn't going to be able to out-rotate that, of course. They're going to have to send someone over, and then the Revenant can just leave, and it might create problems if they do decide to use that. So it'll be interesting to see if we do see some Treb play. I would personally like to see a couple of instances of it coming into play. You might it might actually sway some of the team fights, especially on Clock Tower, where it's very congested and it's very hard to tell when it's coming in at sometimes with all the different particles going around in the current meta. But I mean, we'll have to see what happens. I think that PZ is going to be taking this one, though.
All right, well, let's head on to our third map, the final one of this series on the Battle of Kylo. As you were mentioning in the Treb play, something about it is how fast the Revenants take down the Treb. So we might even see some portal plays based around it, or portal plays based around getting the repair kit through places, and getting to the Trebs might just throw down the portal or something. Like you said, a lot of mobility, so it can be dealt with quite easily. It's just a matter of actually dealing with it when it comes to it. You gotta have somebody available, otherwise you're gonna have to leave a fight, go all the way across the map to actually get to that trebuchet. So given that, it's gonna be interesting to see how these teams open up, if we're gonna see Treb play right from the start from both of them.
I expect a 3-point push from both of these teams. I mean, it's just kind of how these compositions work. I mean, with the Mesmer, you can kind of hold a 1v2, so they're really confident, both teams, in their ability to, hold that 3-point a little bit, try to see where they can make a play, and then execute on that particular point. And that's how they do things, and that's why this is so effective. It's just so good at getting a hold very early and then holding on to that for the rest of the game. So that's why you see a lot of these teams opting for this sort of composition. And granted, this is the first time we saw both of these teams kind of go for this, at least today, and I expect we'll see it again in the final match, the 4th match between Spooky and Apex. But despite that, I mean, both of these teams are very, very good. It could go either way. I think that PZ is going to be taking it. What do you think?
I was about to say, the real question is, who do you think is going to be taking it? I'm going to put my money on Final Form here. I think that they're an underdog. They've got some fire in them, and I think they can take it to PZ. As we have
from
just a standpoint, just looking at it, PZ. But Final Form, I mean, I don't know. I just feel
as
like
a narrative, I get it. But the problem is that in the real world, the narrative isn't how things work out. It's just all about how it will actually work out, like analytically speaking. It's just, it's PZ. It's PZ.
We'll have to see. Game number 3, the final one of the set. Taking a look at the opening splits. A very defensive push, actually, coming out there from Final Form. Expecting a crosser. They are going to send Urantian up against Java. Let's go over to the windmill now, where we have a bit of a skirmish going to be starting up here. Subcutie already the main target. Already see a gravity well and a time warp. He's actually getting pretty low here. Is going to be okay because that time warp is his own. His teammate's own, as Ozzy decided to throw down that time warp in. You know, this is kind of the opening split we anticipated right from the get-go. Pretty even numbers around the map and some stalemated matches in the opening minutes.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of expect probably, you know, a good, I don't know about this actually. If Subcutie keeps taking this level of pressure, then I was initially going to say that I don't expect the point to be capped in, you know, the first 2, even maybe 3 minutes. But the pressure that PZ has been able to put out onto members like Subcutie and even Zeromus over there at the midpoint, I don't know. PZ might be able to take something pretty early. It looks like Zeus actually going to be trying for that cap, as we are seeing Ozzy being forced to pull off to help Subcutie out, who's now sitting at about 30% HP here.
Subcutie doing his best to stay alive back to the midpoint. Like you said, Zeromus pretty low, has Bob in the area with that 2v2 going on back over at the mansion. Urantian and Java in the 1v1. Point node is definitely in favor of Java, but Urantian needs to be playing this passively. Doesn't want to take an overload of Condi damage for that matter. But back at that big 2v2 rather that we got going on over at the windmill. Subcutie back up to 100% HP. Almost 2 minutes into this game. Basically playing out just like they had in the past 2.
Yeah, I kind of expect the same thing to happen. We'll have to see who's able to get that first cap, because as we all know, that is a major part of how these kind of matches play out with this particular composition style. Granted, this is a 3rd Revenant as opposed to something like an Elementalist or a Scrapper or even sometimes a Druid that we've seen, especially from Final Form, so it could be a little bit more lethal, but still I'm not sure if it's going to be working out in their favor, as we are going to be seeing Subcutie just dodging all over the place. And he's going to eventually go down. Ozzy going to go for that res and does actually get it. So now Muffins needs to be kind of careful, as K-Pod actually does get stomped over there on the midpoint here. We are going to be seeing Bob left
in that 1v1. Yeah, I actually like this rotation coming out from Zeromus. He knows there's a respawn coming out from K-Pud, so he wants to force Urantian into the 2v1 to get K-Pud. Has to come over to this mansion. Now, actually, no, they're just going to portal back to the midpoint, so a little bit of a different thought process going on there, but taking on the 2v1 here with both Revenants, they feel Zeromus can hold on to the 1v2 if they want to, but K-Pud knows his teammate needs help at the midpoint. He's going to come and make this a 2v2 once again.
Yeah, but it's just a matter of time before K-Pud comes into this, and now if it's 2 Rev versus 1 Rev and a Mesmer, I give that to the one that's the side with the Mesmer every single time. So, I mean, I probably would have left. I don't know. I guess I would. you have to send someone back.
Oh, there's the cap. Zeromus giving.
That's the problem. Is you have to send someone back that can put some pressure down, because Java is going to be able to hold that for a very long period of time. And of course, if the Mesmer wants to play defensively at all, there's a lot of things that prevent capture point. You know, ticking as you know, you see distortion as well as the F5 as well. So I mean,
my thought process on that was that Zeromus was coming to the mansion node, making it a 2v1, so K-Pud knew off of respawn he had to go there. But he portaled them back to the midpoint, got the Revenant matchup, and that was just a terrible matchup, as you said, and ultimately lost the mansion node. So it didn't really work out for him as anticipated, but Subcutie taken down over here at the windmill. That's unfortunate, because the stomp will connect from Zeus, making it a 2v1 for Ozzy. He's got no help even close around the map. They're going to be able to take him out in a matter of seconds here. And this is just a very rough start. The last 2 matches, we actually saw the first cap coming out from Final Form.
Yeah, and with Ozzy getting kind of low here, just an unrelenting force coming out from Muffins here, as he's just going to be helping his teammate Zeus there drop Ozzy, and he's going to go for the stomp. And actually, we're going to be seeing Subcutie roll into this one, and I don't really think that this was maybe the right rotation. I mean, all he has to do is play defensively, so granted, he does want to make sure that windmill I'll take it back. That was a good rotation because he wants to make sure that Windmill doesn't get capped out. This is good, but the problem is that with Muffins here, he's probably going to be going down rather soon. Ozzy might not be able to make that rotation quickly enough. Urantian was also coming off of respawn, so I'm not sure about that. They already have Mansion capped out, so...
Well, Ozzy's now coming in, and so it's just an never-ending rotation from that node, and eventually Final Form will lose out here because they're just funneling back into the node. K-Pud was looking to do something at that point, but they felt like his teammates probably had that. Is now coming back to the Mansion through mid, making a long trek back to that Mansion node that they hold in. Building that lead this early on, under 10 minutes left in the game, but even so, this is this really feels like something PZ could run away with, unlike Final Form in the earlier games.
Yeah, they definitely have the potential to hold on to this one. They're looking really solid. Java right now getting pressured a bit, but still who's going to be able to make up the distance here to get over towards his teammate K-Pud, who's going to be able to help him out a lot and take away some of that pressure. However, Java is actually opting to stay away from the point and also in turn staying away from a lot of the support that K-Pud can give to him, because K-Pud is forced to kind of stay there, make sure that nobody gets behind him and put some pressure down and takes that point away from him. Java is going to go down. K-Pud actually going to get knocked back with Java, and now they're going to be turning a lot of the pressure down onto K-Pud, and if they can get him down, they might actually be able to turn this one back around entirely. It looks like K-Pud taking the 1v2 nonetheless, and he's going to be looking to try to put some damage down onto Bob. However, with that shield block there, he is going to give them a lot of opportunities to get their cooldowns back.
This decap is everything for them right now. They've got to get it. Bob, though, oh my goodness, K-Pud. What a man, what a monster here. Urantian should be able to get the res nonetheless. Even so, will his teammate be off a respawn and back to the point? Remember, he doesn't have that lightning flush. They got to get a kill. They got to get the stomp now. They have to get this decap. He's going to knock him off point. They should be able to pick it up. He will pick up the decap for his team. Still down over 100 points right now. I'm not even sure they're going to be able to get this kill on the K-Pud for that matter.
They need to focus so much CC. They need to get both of these kills and the cap in order to have an opportunity. It looks like they are going to be able to get K-Pud at the least, but I really think they should have been forcing that into a situation where they get a double down, but that is not going to be the case. They are going to get K-Pud in, although now move off.
Something I'm super surprised about was the ability for Ozzy and SubQD to actually get themselves back into that windmill node at the same time while they were not dying. K-Pud coming off respawn, probably going to head back to that mansion node, but the stomp on SubQD going to connect there. Jerome is going to rotate back to this node, but that mansion node, they can definitely come back into this game by holding on to that one.
Yeah, and Urantian's getting kind of low here on this clock tower. It's only Marvin here, so he's going to be able to get his health back up. However, Muffins is going to add to this one. Looking back over on the mansion, it is a 2v1 actually, and it's going to be a lot of pressure for Bob to have to deal with. And we've seen him in this situation where he gets 2v1, and he just is not really prepared for it, at least not in the same regard as we saw K-Pud earlier, actually, who took him out in a 1v2 setting.
Oh, I don't like this rotation. They sent Urantian here rather than I know he was low at the midpoint trying to get him out. I just don't like
this
that
is their
rotation,
cap. I mean,
that's it.
They need this. This is their cap. This is the thing that's getting them back into this game, and they're going to be dropping it in just a matter of time here with Urantian bleeding out, Bob's getting stomped, and now they're going to be losing this that's decap right there.
I didn't like that play at all from them, and they even gave up windmill for that matter, so now they're going to get two capped by Team PZ, who are going to start to build a huge lead, something that they might not even be able to come back from. And I honestly want to see two cap KC. I don't think there's a chance that Final Form is going to be able to get the decaps, let alone get the caps for themselves to get themselves back into this game.
Yeah, and again, this match means a lot to PZ because this is their hope at maybe making the season finals. If they're able to get this win and then hold on for the last two matches that follow, they're probably making it unless Spooky takes it against the Absurd in
or they lose to easy P00 kind of like can't
well, that's
count
the thing.
that.
They have to win the next two. So I mean, this is if at any point they lose one of those games, I mean, they're not going to the season finals. They have to win every single one of these to make sure that they make it.
If they win this game, they end up winning this game, that's definitely going to be a sigh of relief for them. And then they're going to be watching the next game because they're hoping the Absurd's able to take out Spooky.
Zeromus is going to fall. So they're really just kind of falling apart bit by bit here. Ozzy went to try to teleport over to the clock tower, wasn't able to get there, missed the teleport spot a little bit there, is able to get back onto the point along with his teammate Urantian, but they're not really getting anything going in any of these team fights here. And, finally, actually, this Team PZ has been able to show what they're about and how effective they can be. And
definitely improved some stuff throughout the course of this series. Definitely, you know, that first game kind of felt like a warm-up for them, but getting a victory on that second map and now potentially on the third map here. It's not over just yet, but they were close to getting a 2-cap. Still got this big fight going on at this mid node. Doesn't seem to be making a whole lot of progress. SubQD now under a lot of pressure as well. Doesn't have a whole lot of cooldowns for himself. Needs to stay alive in this fight. Can't afford to have him drop either. But Muffins, look at the con he's taking on him. Resistance keeping him alive for the time being. Good support from his team, going to give him about to 50% HP, but all the Revenants here not looking too healthy.
Yeah, Urantian now kind of low, doesn't have any of his heals up, does have the block, so he's going to be able to get at least a little bit healthier, doesn't have anything to follow, does have the Alacrity a little bit, so he might be able to get his Facet Light, does take the port out with SubQD, and they're looking to take Marvin out here as they are going to be forcing a lot of pressure down. K-Pud did just come through, but K-Pud's not really looking too healthy either. It looks like this is probably going to still go in favor of PZ, though, as it is going to be Mesmer Revenant versus Revenant, where I kind of give that
picked up a decap, to say the least, but SubQD's now under a lot of pressure, and tides have turned over here at the windmill in favor of Team PZ, unless they're able to take out Marvin, but he should be okay. Looks like he's out of cooldown since his shield block. That's about it. Have to see if they keep up the pressure onto him or keep it on K-Pud. It looks like they're still going for K-Pud here, who has, takes a big burst there. Might actually be taken down. Nothing left for him except going to that Herald stance, but even so, look at the massive lead for PZ. No Chieftain spawn here, no Lord kill, no tread play actually. We had anticipated some coming out from either of these teams.
Well, not really anticipated, but just kind of, I don't know, I kind of hoped that they would have made some kind of play. The problem is that, you know, with these compositions, we talk about them all the time, it's just, if you do lose a member on any one of these fights with the lethality of these Revenants, it's very hard to kind of sustain that. So you need to make sure that your Mesmers are spread correctly. You need to make sure that the opponent's Revenants aren't, you know, in a position to really kind of take advantage of the fact that you're outnumbered on one of the points to really kind of make that an effective move. And there hasn't really been many opportunities for them to do that. You know, at the moment, you know, you kind of got to have someone go down so you can make that rotation, and it just really hasn't happened for them. And PZ is not a team that wants to be doing that, so in that regard, we just aren't going to be seeing it. We didn't see it, and we will continue not seeing it.
Under 3 minutes remaining on the Battle of Kylo. PZ looking to wrap this one up with the 2-1 victories. They do take that windmill back themselves. This is a crucial victory for them if they're able to finish this one off, and it looks like that should be the case, as they don't seem to be faltering anywhere. This is just not the game for Final Form. Probably not the greatest of their maps either, but regardless, you know, they can't put their heads down. If they do end up losing this, they really can't, because they still have to try and avoid that relegation spot.
Yeah, they really do, and right now they're kind of proving that they don't deserve to be relegated at the very least, but you know, they definitely need to make some improvements so that they can make sure that they're not forced into that position. Final Form is a very strong team, and it'd be sad to see them get relegated, but I don't think that that's going to be them. At least personally.
Well,
I don't think that's
and the fact you just don't automatically get relegated, you actually have to lose to a team to actually get relegated, for that matter. So given that, you know, they're a very strong team, probably not exactly how they had hoped the season would have started for themselves, but, you know, this isn't probably their best meta to deal with. They've got multiple members on alt classes, for that matter, as Urantian's definitely not a Revenant extraordinaire, nor is SubQD for that matter, or even Bob or Ozzy is not on the main classes. Ozzy's pretty much multi-classer if you ask me, but regardless, you know, a pretty massive lead here. 1:30 remaining in this game as PZ going to be wrapping this one up with a 2-1 victory. Still very surprising opening with that first win for Final Form.
Yeah, a minute left to go here. Huge lead in favor of PZ. It's just, I don't really think that anything is really going to come out of this. I mean, we talked about how slow-paced these compositions are going to be against each other. I mean, the first two matches were definitely a lot faster paced than this one for sure, and it was definitely really interesting to see how those teams kind of played against each other and how that affected a lot of things. We are still seeing a lot of kills actually on both sides. You know, PZ still taking a lot of kills. Even right now, we just saw a 3-man wipe. You know, they're doing well to make sure that they hold on to this one. It looks like Final Form is going to be calling the GG there. So they are going to be accepting defeat on this one. PZ going to be moving forward, I believe, to 3-2. And we are going to be seeing them still in a position to perhaps make the season finals, despite a very rocky start.
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna, for them, they're gonna be watching this next game, as I said earlier, Spooky up against the Absurd, which is our game of the week. Should be a very interesting one, to say the least. But, you know, you gotta give it to Final Form, coming out with a victory on the Force of Nipple Hell, holding their own on the Lake Sea of the Fofar. Battle of Kylo was definitely their weakest map of this set, but regardless, very good performance from them today. I didn't expect them to come out with a victory at all in the beginning of the set, so got to hand it to them on that end.
Yeah, I mean, going into this, I definitely thought PZ was going to take it. I thought they were honestly going to take it 2-0. Not to disparage anything that Final Form is doing. I mean, that's a very, very solid team, great players, you know, great group synergy, and they've been able to really adapt to, you know, kind of a meta that they weren't really prepared for. I mean, they definitely were looking pretty good before the season started. Teams adjusted, and you know they've had to kind of make some adjustments themselves since. And of course, that's a team that was kind of hoping that they would see Druid play. And of course, with the Mesmers and Revenants coming out, it's just very hard to kind of do that. I mean, a lot of CC is the bane of a Druid at this point, so it's really hard to kind of do that. At least in this particular meta that people have kind of decided to play. So you know they've given that done pretty well for themselves. You have to hand it to them, but PZ is just such a strong team, at least in this current meta. We haven't seen them in any of the other ones, but a strong group of players have been able to adapt very quickly, and they've been able to play very, very well. So we'll have to see how they kind of play in the next 2 weeks, because again, they have to win every single one of their next games to make sure that they are still in contention against Spooky, who we are going to be seeing up next.
Speaking of PZ, I mean, we talking about Final Form a lot there, but PZ, their next 2 matches up against Easy Peasy and Zero Counterplay. We mentioned 2 must wins for them, but definitely, you know, Zero Counterplay, 8th place. Easy Peasy is in the bottom half of the standings as well. Shouldn't be too terribly difficult matches, but they're still going to have to prep for those nonetheless. And our next matchup, like you said, the Absurd up against Spooky, that should be an exciting one as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely going to be a really fun match to watch. I mean, Absurd has been known to other teams have been known to give you hope, like a glimpse of hope, and maybe they have a shot, but Absurd has been just as good at making sure they shut down all of those glimpses of hope. So, I mean, going into it, I expect that Spooky has a chance, and they've been working on this. I mean, this is the matchup that everybody looks forward to. You know, themselves versus Absurd. Maybe there's a chance. I mean,
We've seen it in the past.
You're either looking forward to it or dreading it. I mean, it's never something that you're not concerned about. But I mean, I think that Absurd is just too strong a team to let anyone get by them at this point.
I mean, it's been such a long time since we've seen them drop a set, but we do have our interview ready for Team PZ. We've got Zeus joining us after that 2-1 victory against Final Form. What an incredible series from you guys. How do you feel after that one?
Oh, man. That was pretty intense. We feel really good. I think everybody's just super excited. It was tough. Like, there was some adversity that we were going through, but, you know, you just can't stop us, dude. We had, like, TeamSpeak issues and, like, lag issues, but, you know, it worked out in the end, so it was great.
Yeah, it's nice to see that you guys worked out those technical issues. Glad you guys did and came back and took that victory. So you guys are now in contention still against, you know, Apex Prime, even Spooky, to still be in that second place slot and possibly move on to the season finals. What are you guys looking forward to, you know, in the coming weeks for you guys to remain in that position? I mean, obviously you're going to be looking at the next game, and because that means a lot to you guys if Spooky's able to take that. That will definitely hurt your chances at making it. But what are you guys expecting against Zero Counterplay, Easy Peasy in the coming weeks?
We've always just taken it one game at a time, and we're actually really thankful that the Absurd is like just a major scrim partner with us. So they've been helping us a lot, and we've been like really going at it. So it's been a lot of good practice with them, and we're just kind of taking it 1 week at a time. And next week we have Zero Counterplay, and they might not have won a game yet, but we're not going to. Oh no!
He's
back.
here.
He's back. Welcome back, man.
Yes, we can.
All right, where did I leave off at?
No, we heard. I think we got it all. I think right when you finish is when we got it. But one last question. I mean, you know, you talk about you take one game at a time. Are you guys going to be looking at this Spooky and Apex? I mean, first of all, what are you guys thinking about Spooky versus Absurd? Do you think Absurd is going to be taking it? Do you think Spooky has a shot? What do you think?
We actually haven't scrimmed Spooky in a while, but we've heard that they've been doing pretty well. But we've been scrimming Absurd, and they've been doing really well, at least against us. So, and I mean, I know Spooky runs a pretty similar comp to us, so we really hope that Absurd does win, but we'll just have to see, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So, shout out to Donna Berry behind you there. Do you have any shout outs to give before we end this one?
I mean, just shout out to everybody that's been watching, supporting the community, especially supporting us.
Oh, good guys,
shout out to my girlfriend who's right behind me, and everybody that's just, I don't know, dude. We're just pretty happy. So.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us, and congrats on your 2-1 victory over Final Form. That was Zeus from Team
Thanks.
PZ. Up next, though, we do have the Absurd up against Spooky. We briefly talked about them, but before we move into it, you got to give me something on them.
Oh, so Absurd, I mean, best team in North America. I mean, you can at least give them that. Definitely. I mean, at the moment, they hold the title for best team in the world. I mean, you know, with the current situation, you never know if that's going to be, you know, instead to Vermilion or whatever at this current time. But I mean, they have the title. It's I don't know if anybody's caught up yet. It's definitely at this point, if anyone's going to beat them during the season, it's Spooky.
Yep.
I don't think there's anyone left I don't think there's anyone left on the docket to take them down. PZ was the other one I would have given the chance to. They made that a 2-1 game. That was the team that we just watched. I mean, Spooky, they need to buckle down. It looks like they're going to be running a pretty interesting comp for this one, so we'll have to see what happens.
We'll have to see. Guys, we're going to head to a short break, and when we're back, we'll have the final match of the evening, the Absurd up against Spooky. Don't go anywhere. welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the ESL Pro League. We have our final match of the day ready for you. It's going to be Spooky up against the Abjured. We had touched on them earlier, but this is the giant 1 versus 2 matchup. This is a huge matchup for Spooky.
Yeah, this is a big one indeed. And let's just jump right on into the game cams here. We're going to be going through the builds real quick. We want to make sure that this match gets right underway for you guys because this is the big one. I mean, this is the match of the week, the match of the day. The one that means the most. We had a couple of really cool matches in EU. This is the one that means a lot for NA. And going first through here with Nas, he's going to be on a little bit different of a build than we're used to seeing him, at least since week 4. He has been playing this a lot, though, during the break. This is going to be Staff, Scepter, Warhorn with Celestial Amulet, Rune of the Nightmare, so nothing really changed in that regard. However, he is going to be running Blood Magic, Spite, and Reaper, going with that Well of Corruption there, so a lot of corruption on this build. Going with that triple signet as well, and he's going to be opting for that flesh golem there as well. Going now over to Magic Toker, he's going to be running the sword, shield, and staff with Berserker Amulet, Rune of Durability, the only Revenant actually for this team, and he's going to be going Devastation, Invocation, and Herald. Next we have the first of 2 Mesmers, and that first one is going to be Phaneram. He's going with sword, shield, staff, Soldier Amulet, Rune of Mercy, Chaos Inspiration, and Chronomancer, and then following him will be the second, probably running the same build, sword, shield, Soldier Amulet, or sorry, Staff, Soldier Amulet, and Rune of Mercy with Chaos Inspiration and Chronomancer. And finally, we do have Chaith going to be opting for that Hammer Engineer yet again here with Celestial Amulet and Rune of Durability. He's going to be running Firearms, Alchemy, and Scrapper.
Over on the side of blue, that would be Spooky. First up, we have Sunfish on the Necromancer. He's going to be taking the Staff with the Scepter, Warhorn, Rune of the Nightmare, Carrion Amulet for himself. He'll be taking Spite, Soul Reaping, and Reaper. With Triple Signet and Well of Corruption, he's still going to be taking Chill to the Bone, however. I'm going to be one of 2 Mesmers for this team. Basically running the same thing we saw on the side of the Abjured with the Sword, Shield, Staff, Mercy Rune, Soldier Amulet, taking up that Chaos Inspiration. And Chronomancer skipping down to Physics. I'm anticipating the same thing. Nope, actually a little bit different. He's going to be taking Rune of the Chronomancer with Sentinel's Amulet. He'll be taking still Inspiration, Chaos, and the Chronomancer trait. Next up, Schnicky is one of 2 Revenants with that Sword, Shield, Staff, Marauder Amulet, Rune of Lissa. He'll be taking Ret, Devastation, and Herald. And our 5th Mesmer seemed to have left. Oh, Happy Kid joining back in here, taking a look at his build. He's running the Sword, Shield still with the Staff, running the same thing that we saw in Schnicky with the Lissa and Marauder, taking Devastation, Invocation, and Herald. And game number 1 of our final match of the day between the Abjured and Spooky about to commence. Taking a look at the opening splits, let's head into our map view as we look at what both of these teams are going to be doing, stacking up that might, stacking up those boons with those Revenants and company. Now, it's like 2 crossers going to come moving down onto the map. Actually, 3 on the side of the Abjured, all stealthed up with that Sneak Gyro, looking to make a big push over towards the Henge with 2 members for both of the teams.
Yeah, I mean, it really comes down to the opening. I mean, that's when this Abjured team is most vulnerable because, I mean, their rotations are just so strong. So, I mean, if they're able to really get a good opener on this Abjured team, then they have an opportunity to take them down and maybe get a lead here going into the opening, the opening
Whoa,
of this game.
Schnicky already taking a huge burst on his end. Already using that that shield block, and he is going to be left vulnerable against Nas here. I'm fairly confident Nas is going to be able to clean up this one in a matter of moments. But a big push coming out there from Spooky towards the mid node. They might actually get the cap as Phaneram. Oh, good portal actually. Schnicky's down. We're going to see the portal come back, and they're going to get Schnicky right back up before Nas, I think, even gets this. Oh, he does not get the actual cap. Oh, good fear coming out from him, but not going to get everyone off there. And now Phaneram is going to be at this point with 3 members of Spooky.
And he's actually, it looks
portal
like he's
back,
going to portal all the way out. So they are going to get just, ooh, I thought they were going to leave that cap, but Wakey was able to get right back in. And now Sunfish and Happy Kid are just going to put so much pressure on him that they actually might be able to take him out. Looking at him, though, he does have that portal available, so he is going to be able to go back on through that if he can make it.
He's going to
go down, though.
Oh.
So here we go. Spooky already with the cap. And they're going to come up with a little bit of an early lead here, but they need to get over to that midpoint very, very quickly as they are already losing Schnicky again here as he's getting down about 20% HP, still getting a little bit lower. Does have a couple of dodge rolls to get away at the moment, but it's just a matter of time before he goes down here. Needs to make sure that he gets over to his teammates to get some support.
He's just traversing back and forth, trying to avoid 5 gauges. Hammer doesn't want to be landed in that CC or anything. He should be okay. Has his heal up in a second here. He's going to be able to use it when he wants to. He's going to bring it off.
Nos, though. Nos might actually get... he's getting extremely low. If at any point he does go down, Fanaram might be able to bring him back up rather quickly. So, and if he does go back up, they might actually take Schnicky out in the process.
And
Looks
he
like
is
Mime's
down.
going to go get him back up.
Yep, and look at Nos. He is so low right now. Wakey off a respawn, going to head the long way up to midpoint, and Sunfish was watching for him. Nos is going to have 4,000 health out of that Shroud. Leaves it. Schnicky's now in the downstate, and so Happy Kid might be... Oh, they get the stop. Happy Kid's in the downstate as well. Sunfish probably looking for a res. No, he's just going to leave this one. No, cut their losses, get out of that node, possibly head back to the mine node where Nos already on the way. So they're going to let them get that cap. He's going to let him get that free decap. They've got a small lead right here, but they could potentially give up a 2 cap here to the Absurd.
Oh, man, I don't know about leaving that cap
I don't
there.
either. I think that was a poor move on their end. And, I mean, I don't know what... I think Sunfish was thinking, okay, I can't let Physics die over here. I'd rather give up the 1 cap than give up the potential already lost node at the henge. But, you know, I think Physics might have been able to hold on for a little bit longer. And now the Absurd going to start to claw their way back in with that small lead that Spooky had.
Toker now taking a lot of pressure, though. Of course, he does have the assistance of his teammates there. Sunfish is going to be the first to drop. Schnicky certainly is not going to be able to res against all that pressure, and he does indeed get stomped out. 2 cap in favor of the Absurd as
Nos killed Mime over there. And it's pretty impressive to say the least. Physics, though, should be able to get the decap, throws the portal down, gets the members, the remaining members, that is, of Spooky out of the henge node, back to the mid node. We're going to see Happy Kid run Nos off, going to be able to get that mid cap for themselves. And I don't know, Happy Kid probably not going to be able to do anything with Mime here. Nos should be able to finish off the kill, but looking to fight a 1v1 against him.
Yeah, here's the thing about Absurd, though, is that even in this meta, they kind of give you this false sense of security. Oh, and they might actually get Nos down here.
That was a huge burst from Happy Kid. Landed the full Surge of the Mist. Gonna take down Nos. Sunfish in the area, just in case. Might be able to get this decap. No, Wakey should be able to get on the point. Oh, he looks like he does,
man.
And that's brutal because 5 gauge is now here as well.
Yeah, I mean, they're not going to be able to knock them off anytime soon, at least for now. I mean, they really also have to look out for Sunfish. He doesn't have a Mesmer to keep him alive here, and they really kind of need one, as they're going to be able to force some pressure onto 5 gauge, which is definitely who they need to be forcing the pressure onto. But in the meantime, they're also going to put a lot of pressure down onto Wakey. Nos is going to come in, so is Schnicky. They really need a Mesmer in this fight, or else they're really going to be losing this one very, very quickly. We're going to be seeing a stomp come out.
I mean, they managed to pick up a decap, but like you said, the stomp coming out there, now they're at the disadvantage numbers-wise, and that's going to be rough because they're probably, in the end, going to be ending up giving this cap. This is their far node. Now, they could potentially look for a home node, which probably has a portal on it from the Mesmers on the side of the Absurd, but with Schnicky already so low right here, he's going to be trained down. He will be taken out by conditions. Now, Happy Kid, I don't know if he really should have stuck around in this fight because he's going to be taken out as well, unless he's able to somehow get back to the midpoint. We do see a Physics coming in, probably has a portal down for him. It looks like he should be able to get Happy Kid to safety if he wants to, but he's looking for actual push over there at the mine point, surprisingly enough.
Happy now is going to be rotating into that midpoint, but the thing is they already won that one, and they're going to be able to hold on to it. It's really going to come down to them getting the right rotations into that hinge point, because Sunfish has made a good amount of headway already, and we are seeing Magic Toker using a lot of his cooldowns now to stay alive. Schnicky is going to be helping him out with that one, waiting out that Herald heal, and now they will be able to turn the fight now onto Magic Toker, who is now actually putting down a lot of pressure onto Sunfish, and that Necro is really kind of like the biggest vulnerability on both sides of these teams here, because without a Mesmer to be able to support them, they're going to be the ones most vulnerable to being taken out. And we did see a knockback over on Toker. This could be an opportunity for them to get them down, but now Fanaram and Shaith both go in for the res, and they're going to be losing that opportunity just as fast as they created it.
Yeah.
So
that's rough. Spooky had the upper hand there and just kind of tossed it away, but Fanaram is down right here. If they're able to pick up a kill, that would be huge. Jade, his Elixir S going to pop from the traits there, so doesn't have that to save his skin this time. The stomp did actually connect, but Sunfish going to be taken down possibly. Oh, he's so low, has under 1,000 health. He had under 1,000 health for at least 3 or 4 seconds there. No one really capitalizing. Now Toker,
counter pressure.
It turned from one team to the other, back to the other team, and now Spooky coming out on top in that fight. But regardless, lost the mid cap in the process, and it looks like we're going to see Mime be taken down in this 1v2.
Yeah, they really need to get that rotation quickly. We're seeing Fanaram come over, so at this point, Physics is going to be able to hold that 1v1 for a very long period of time. We saw that exact same 1v1 on Keep. I expect to see the same result, where it just gets stalemated. Oh man, that is not good.
That's rough. That was a pretty good CC chain coming out there from the Absurd, mitigating any attempt on the res for mine there.
Yeah, they need to focus a lot of pressure down on Nos to relieve some of the pressure that's being put down upon themselves. Happy Kid going to go in for some pressure. The res is definitely going to come out there as they do have that Mesmer in the form of Wakey able to provide some utility in that regard. Sunfish is going to go down. No Mesmers in sight, at least quickly enough as they do get that stomp. Physics not able to prevent that one. They're going to rotate onto that one. It's still held neutral. We are going to be seeing Schnicky pulling off, forcing Nos out of this fight. And I do give this 1v1 to Nos because Schnicky has not all of his cooldowns here.
Decap, though. That's the real question.
We are seeing Phantom come over as well, though.
Picks up a decap, which is really good. The decaps are really what are holding them in this game, but still, I mean, the Absurd not only are winning all of the team fights, they're also, I mean, Spooky's done a good job of rotations, but given the score, I mean, they're still out-rotating Spooky, picking up a decap as well over at the Henge. Schnicky will be taken out over at the mine back at the Henge, though. This is just going every which way wrong for Spooky.
Yeah, and the thing about this is that Mime is going to be able to get Schnicky back up, I expect, and they're going to be able to... Oh, it's CC'd right off, I believe, by Nos there. Huge plays from him so far this game, and that actually might solidify them.
Oh, almost Mime. Portal back. Looks like Wakey going to put down the portal just with one tick left and managed to hold on to that 2-cap. We see Mime going right back through. Going to be met by Phantom, but back over at the Henge. Got a bit of a skirmish going on there as Sunfish actually in the down state. The stomp will connect from the Absurd, who are starting to take a commanding lead, building up to a 150-point lead with about 6:30 remaining in this game.
Yeah, Physics not looking too hot, though, as Nos is going to zone in on him. Toker going to do just the same, and Physics is going to be dying off as soon as this resistance ends. And he looks like, yep, there it goes. He is going to fall, and Wakey is going to be going for that stomp. It is going to connect, and they are definitely going to be getting this cap in just a matter of time, as Schnicky is the only person left really
Good
at all.
Rotation off a respawn from Sunfish, heading to that mine node, trying to make some move to get a decap. The Henge, of course, full cap by the Absurd, who are probably going to make some effort to move to that midpoint, where Mime has kind of struggled all game long, it felt like. It's been in a lot of 1v1s that really have not went his way, especially with Nos, and some fights that really haven't panned out for them. And with Happy Kid being taken down behind to keep Schnicky, also a lot of pressure coming out onto him from Toker and 5-Gauge. They're probably not going to let him get away, as Blue take the 1-cap for themselves, but the Absurd will be taking this keep node.
Yeah, and this is kind of what we expect to see, and they are kind of flip-flopped in what they're usually comfortable with. They usually like having that home in mid and then just kind of forcing the pressure towards their spawn, but this is still a very good position for them to be in. You know, they're very healthy. They have pretty much all their cooldowns. Both Mesmers both have their elites. You know, Wakey has just 10 seconds left, but Continuum Split is available. They have good map positioning. They have a good hold. I mean, this is just exactly what Absurd has always done, just clinical play throughout the entirety of the game, and they've been able to come back. So
something you had mentioned earlier at the start of this one is you got to get something going at the start, otherwise the Absurd will just even if you win some team fights, they will out-rotate you all over the map. And they did a pretty good job the opening few minutes, open 5, 6, even 7, up to 7 or 8 minutes. They did a good job of holding on, but once the Absurd just started to pick up on some things and just take the game away. Over 400 points now. It felt like just a couple minutes ago, they were only up like 30 or 40 points on Spooky, and that's just how the Absurd work, and continuing to get decaps all around the map, picking up full caps, winning their 1v1s, winning their team fights. This is just a never-ending struggle, it feels like, here for Spooky, who probably thinking about game number 2 on Legacy of the Faux Fire and what they need to change up at the start of it.
yeah, and at the moment, 429 to 181, they've, I mean, pretty much at this point, it's really come down to the fact that Absurd has just been taking members of Spooky out just left and right. I mean, just being absolute assassins, honestly. They've just been taking them out, and I mean, Spooky hasn't really found a way to deal with that. They've just been kind of falling apart bit by bit. They've been able to stay in the game a little bit longer than anticipated, just because of the fact that they've been able to make great rotations, and that's why Spooky is a top team, is that their rotations are on par. It's just that they haven't been able to really kind of hold their own across the map, and you know, Absurd has been able to make sure that they come back anytime that they do fall, and we can see that on the screen right now as Magic Toker falls. Wakey gets him right back up.
Without a problem whatsoever. Now Physics might drop himself as an exit portal if he needs to use it. The Absurd's 3-cap will carry through, as they will be taking game number 1 against Spooky on the Force of Nibelhel with absolute dominance on the ending half of that game. And moving on into the Legacy of the Faux Fire, Spooky looking forward. What do you think they need to change up?
Oh man, I mean, honestly, for Spooky, there's just not a lot left to change. I mean, it's really kind of just perfecting their game and then their play style, and they did pretty well at the beginning in making sure that they had that early lead, and they just need to make sure that they find ways to hold on to that because again, that's the thing about playing against Absurd is that if you can get that early lead, it might not mean that much because at any point, if you do give that up, it's hard to take it back from Absurd because they are so good at setting themselves up and making sure that they overpower you basically everywhere. If they ever get that lead, they will overpower you, and you have to make sure that you play very, very defensively when you get into that position. And if you start falling apart, that's when they're going to start pulling away, and we saw that happen in that match.
And without a problem whatsoever from the Absurd. As soon as like the smallest of leads came out for the Absurd, then they started to pick up, win even more of the team fights and skirmishes, out-rotate them even more, and then just take it away from them. Let's go ahead and hop onto our second map on the Legacy of the Foe Fire, though, as we have both teams starting to join up and get underway with this second match in the series. Have to see if we have any changes. Probably no changes. A lot of teams these days aren't really changing much of their comp as they are possibly their strategy after a loss.
Yeah, it really kind of comes down to that. We are going to be seeing a comp change though, and I talked a little bit about how that wouldn't be the last time we saw the triple rev come out with the double mesmer, and we are going to be seeing that come out with Spooky, and Sun is going to be moving over towards that Revenant, and he's going to be opting for that Viper Revenant. So they are going to be using that double power one condition Revenant setup that we have seen so far today. And one thing I would like to see is Schnicky being used a little bit more effectively. I mean, in the last matchup, we saw Schnicky kind of being ported around and kind of thrown around a little bit. And granted, Schnicky is a very, very solid player. He just doesn't have as much experience on Revenant as some of these other guys. And I think that you need to make sure that you kind of account for that. And against Absurd, you can't have situations where you're putting in a player that's a little bit less experienced on a particular class in a situation where he's going to have to go up against a 1v2, which is what we saw in the beginning of the last game.
No changes coming out from the Absurd as anticipated. Nos is not changing up his build, nor it looks like 5 gauge either. So he's sticking with those same things. So, I mean, this is not the first time today we've seen this composition. We saw this exact same composition on the side of Spooky come out from Final Form. We'll have to see if this is going to work out for them. As we had mentioned a couple times, the early stages of the game are crucial for Spooky trying to come out with a victory. But, I mean, this in the past has been known to be the Absurd's map, but they have definitely fallen a couple of times, not a couple of sets by any means, but a couple of times on this map in the previous months, for that matter, and we'll have to see if Spooky is able to do the same. So we wait for these guys to go ahead and get ready on the side of Spooky. Do you think they've got a chance of doing it here?
I think this is definitely a better composition for them to for them to take this. And again, if anybody is going to beat Absurd this season, it was either going to be PZ or it was going to be Spooky, in my opinion. And I mean, Spooky is still a very strong team. I think this is the composition that they need to do it. I'm not sure if I really felt him or really felt Sunfish on that Necro. He's just so much better, so much more consistent on that Revenant. He's really good at that role, and I think that he's incredibly lethal in that role. So I do like this comp switch. It just comes down to the fact that Absurd is just so good and adapting even on the fly. And I think that they're going to be able to make some adjustments so that they kind of don't really have too much of a struggle in this regard. I mean, you have the Condi Rev that could go up against Nos. If they float Sun over to Nos in a lot of these team fights, they definitely have a shot, and they can put down enough pressure to really put some hurting down on Noskok. But I mean, I'm not sure. I give this one to Absurd, but I did explain why Spooky could potentially win, but I'm going to give it to Absurd.
All right, hopping into our map here, taking a look at the opening splits on game number 2 between Spooky and the Absurd, Fanaram and Nos into that quarry. Meanwhile, Schnicky looking for a waterfall play. 3 members of the Absurd looking to see what their split should be, and it looks like 5 gauge going to head over to take on Physics, while 3 members of Spooky looking for an aggressive push towards the quarry.
Oh, this is a good setup for them, actually, because they've got Schnicky and another Revenant all over Nos. This is a great setup for them because they can take him out rather quickly. And look at the pressure being dropped down onto Nos here, and Fanaram can still bring him back up if he does go down. There's not too many defensive cooldowns left for him, so I do believe that they are going to get him. It's just a question of if Fanaram can get him back up, and they do have the potential to take him out very quickly. However,
Whoa,
Mercy
it's
taking so much heat.
the tides have turned. We actually see the res gonna come out here, but you know that initial burst on Nos was really good, but they weren't able to follow up on that. And a really good defensive play from Nos and Fanaram, keeping him alive for the time being, and perhaps they can finish him off. But Snicky around the map actually is taken out over at the waterfall. Stomp might connect there, but still not looking at Nos. He is under so much pressure right here, has that shroud up, is going to use what little he has left of it. But regardless, excellent job from the Abjured keeping themselves up here.
Yeah, definitely a great job, and making sure that they survive the initial burst so that they don't have to worry about Mime being in this fight. Now they can take a 2v2 where technically they have the advantage, and now Nos is going to get back up. Sunfish is going to be forced out. Nos might actually turn this into a kill, does indeed with that big sigil burst. Happy Kid is now forced into a position where he has to go ahead and go for the res. Might not be able to get it, and he is going to go ahead and leave as Nos does clean that one up with the Whale of Doom. Schnicky now going to come into this fight, and we are going to be seeing potentially a cap come out in just a matter of probably about 30-40 seconds between.
And the Abjured managed to clean up the fight over here at the waterfall. We saw Wakey and Toker win the 2v2, took out Schnicky earlier, got Physics, who went through the portal, got back up, but ultimately was defeated once again over at the waterfall. So the Abjured starting out with that early lead nonetheless, and potentially taking a 2-cap as 5 Gauge is one tick away from grabbing that graveyard node.
I really like, I mean, if I was them, what I would do is I would be putting Sunfish against Nos in every single situation, even in a 1v1, and here you have that situation happening, and then any other time that you see anyone else coming in, just mirror it. Mirror the same exact thing. So if you have a Mesmer and Nos, put in a Mesmer and Sunfish, and then you should have the advantage in that scenario. And now we are going to be seeing Abjured take the 2-cap advantage, and they're going to be just pumping away now as Happy Kid getting extremely low, does get taken out, and Abjured is just so good at finishing these, but not able to get it there. So
I mean, this is the worst possible start Spooky probably could have asked for. I mean, they did a good job like that initial burst on Nos, but weren't able to capitalize after he fended for himself. So close. Now Nos actually taken into the downstate. Might be able to pick up the stomp. No, we are going to see him get right back up without a problem whatsoever. Very quickly, and now Happy Kid's under a lot of pressure. Show Schnicky. So look at their health pools on the side of Spooky. The Abjured all 100% HP, and Spooky just on so much pressure coming out from these guys. Fight after fight, and the Abjured looking to take the 3-cap, and I believe they actually do have the 3-cap here.
yeah, it's just...
They do have the 3-cap.
Yeah,
it is taking 3 nodes, but Physics almost gets the D-cap, not quite. But I mean, this is just, look, 2 members down, 3 members down. 4th and 5th might be following up soon as the Abjured just a commanding lead without an issue whatsoever on the Legacy to Fofar. Not, I mean, a different approach, don't get me wrong, from Spooky, but the Abjured just adjusted to it so well. Fanaram and Nos did an excellent job at the quarry in the opener.
Yeah, I definitely would have liked to have seen Mime stay, and then having one of the other Revenant that was with them go over towards that midpoint instead and take that 1v1. That's kind of where they're favored anyways. I mean, they kind of set themselves up to fail. They had a great burst, but they just weren't able to follow it up because they were just taking a little bit too much pressure. They didn't have anyone to do anything about it. But now Nos and Fanaram are in the exact same situation where, you know, they're going to be actually assisted now by Toker, and all they have to do is just play really passively, play really defensively, just cover every node, make sure that they adjust really quickly to any rotation that comes in from Spooky, and they're going to be taking this game.
This isn't anything the Abjured are new to. They know how to play exactly with having this lead, having a 3-cap on Legacy to Fofar. They know exactly how to play right now. Even though they're on a few different classes, we do see Physics. Oh, Wakey, last second portal is going to capitalize on that. Physics drops one himself, so Wakey has to stay around for a little bit there if he so desires. Doesn't want them to pick up any points. Wants to shut out for the team, but still, big team fight going on here. But the Abjured, not even 5 minutes into this game, with the 3-cap and a 270-point 2-0 lead.
Yeah, it looks like Happy Kid is struggling to stay alive. Is able to get a lot of support from his teammates, so he's able to get back up into a little bit more of a healthier spot. And now Nos is the one taking a lot of pressure, taking a lot of stuns as well. And it looks like he's going to be going down. They do go for a big amount of knockbacks. They're going to follow up with a lot of pressure still, though. They are going to get him back up into the fight. Nos going to be pretty healthy here, as the Mercy Runes are going to get him at a really high HP there for him to stay alive. And now he's going to get pressured once again, going to be dropping here. They're going to be going for another res, and they do get it again. Mercy Runes are going to get him up to about 50% HP here. They're going to be trying to drop him again, and once again, Nos goes down, and this time they do get the stomp. So now they do have an opportunity to turn this one back around. However, with it being 345 points deep, 340-point deficit.
Yeah, that's rough. I mean, they got 5 points. Nice job, guys. And Toker, they got 10 points. 5 gauge might
that was
follow
so condescending
as well. And he has, Gerald could if he wanted to. I don't know. He's going to be taken down as well as Mime. Might be able to pick up the stomp for himself. 15 points coming out for these guys. Able to pick up a decap. And now Fanaram is going to be the one to leave along with Wakey, as he knows that Waterfall was decapped. I mean, this is the absurd. Something like that happens. It's nothing to make a big deal about. Look at the lead for them. It's still a massive lead. They still got a cap. Even if Blue gets a cap, which they did get the Graveyard, now what? They have to do the exact same thing they just did, and the Abjurt's still holding on to a cap.
Yeah, and Sunfish is going to come into this fight and try to put some pressure down on Nas, exactly who they need to. This is how they got some headway in the last fight, and they really need to put some pressure down on him, enough to take him out. Happy Kid, though, taking a little bit too much. They don't have the Mesmers with them in this fight. They need to pull out of this one immediately. They are not going to be getting this one. They're going to eventually just die off and lose this fight. I mean, they can't deal with this. They don't have the defensive cooldowns to deal with this at all. Schnicky going to be taken down. I don't like this rotation at all. They need to move out of this. They have no support from a Mesmer in this skirmish.
I mean, I completely agree. Now we have Sunfish in the downstate. Happy Kid. We do have a portal. He comes back through it at the midpoint, where Toker is going to be met by multiple members, but I anticipate he's going to be able to keep himself alive until it looks like 3 members of the Abjure are going to come plus this midpoint. They still have that lone cap at the quarry. Should be able to pick up the win more than likely here, unless we see something like what we just had a couple minutes ago from Spooky happen again. But I mean, that's a tough thing to accomplish against the Abjure.
Yeah, and they're able to just deal with everything so well right now. And, you know, it kind of comes down to also Spooky making a couple of mistakes, at least in my opinion. I think, you know, like in terms of their rotations, they're definitely not making good use of the fact that they could potentially be countering them very, very effectively. Every time they do get someone down, they're not able to really capitalize in much the same way that Abjurd has been able to. I mean, look at it right there. Toker was down to about 20% HP, and Downstate 5 gauge was down to about 20% HP, almost, I mean, definitely in a position where he could have gone down, and still now they're going to be probably losing the fight if Schnicky goes down. And I mean, this is the kind of stuff that you need to make sure you're not having these kind of problems if you're going to be winning a game against a team like the Abjurd.
60 points left for the Abjurd with that quarry cap to take this victory. It doesn't look like they're making too much way on the other nodes. They might be able to pick up a kill on Physics over here at the Waterfall, who's actually alone, so we might see that kill come out and another cap come out for the Abjurd with the 2 cap. Unless they send a rotation, we do have Mime heading over here, but they have just been in a rough spot all game long. Very difficult for them to actually get something going in this game. Only 22 points coming out thus far, with a few more coming out for the Abjurd. Able to pick up the kill on the Physics, but Mime trying to play as passively as possible. Has a lot of cooldowns, but they're going to be going away very soon indeed, as he is. Most of his cooldowns actually up, but going to toss down that gravity well and should be okay to keep himself alive. But regardless, I mean, a couple kills came out onto 5 gauge Fanaram. Got to hand it to Spooky for a job well done throughout this series regardless. I mean, they're very good players, but, you know, going up against the Giant, the Abjurd, that's just such a rough matchup, as we have said time and time again.
I mean, this was the team to do it, though. So, I mean, we're going to be probably seeing Abjurd go lossless for the entire season moving into the finals. I mean, this has really, I mean, this secures their spot as the top team in NA. There's no way that they're going to be dropping at all. I mean, they're going to the finals with this victory here. They're definitely going to the finals with this victory.
As the #1 seed.
All they have to do is beat Apex, and then they're week 7, and they're going straight to the finals. I mean, at this point, they've got it. They have the victories over PZ. They have the victory now over Spooky. So even if they lose both games, they're going to be 5-2 with victories over both of those teams, with more wins than both of those teams. They're going to win those tiebreakers. They are definitely going to the finals.
Yeah, congrats to them. I mean, not quite over yet, but, you know, 471, we'll have to see more source of income going to be coming out over at the Waterfall. Probably if they're able to pick up a kill on the Happy Kid. And it looks like Sunfish not going to be able to capitalize and get that res, as him and Mime are left in this 3v2 here at the Waterfall. Just under 5 minutes remaining. 5 gauge going to plus this one as well. Try and wrap up this game and wrap up the series with a 2-0 victory if they're able to get a couple of kills here. Sunfish under a lot of pressure. Look at the Condi's taking on him. He is going to be obliterated there, and now Mime's the last member remaining. Look at the Condi's taking on him. He has a couple of cooldowns, but he's just going to be obliterated there. throws down all he can and picking up kills still, coming out here for the Abjurd. But Happy Kid's actually trying to make his way through. They're just going to funnel back into this point.
Yeah, they still have yet to get a cap. Still just getting kill after kill. And they might actually just win this off of getting, 3 more kills. Sneaky kind of low. Looks like they're going to force out of that one. And Happy Kid is now going to go down over on the Waterfall. They're going to go ahead and bleed him out and now probably get the cap over on Waterfall. And that will probably secure the game for them as they do get it. They're just going to AFK on this one. A little bit of a victory formation for them, And they're going to take out Sun in the process probably. And that will be game. So Abjurd is going to take this one 2-0 over Spooky, still without a loss in terms of series, sitting now at 15 points on the season. So congratulations to them for moving on and actually securing their spot in the finals. So
5-0. I mean, you couldn't ask for better at this point. Congrats to them. And Spooky dropping to 3-2, if I'm not mistaken, going to be tied along with a couple of other teams. But PZ has to be happy about that result.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, they do. So, I mean, what this means now is that, of course, PZ is going to be tied now. And, of course, we will also have Spooky tied with them as well. And I believe Apex is tied with them as well at this point, although Apex still has to play the Abjurd. Yep. So, again, has to play the Abjurd, so that is
I mean, the thing is, Apex has the victory over PZ. PZ has the victory over Spooky, and Spooky has the victory over Apex. So if we see all three of those tie, that'll be an interesting situation. But Apex would have to, in fact, beat the Abjurd. And after that brutal beatdown on Spooky, I mean, that's going to be that would be a tough matchup.
That's for sure a tough one, especially, I mean, given that, all these teams are playing against each other, all these teams are scrimming, of course. I mean, every team that has already played then goes ahead and scrims, helps each other out, making sure that they can better themselves for the rest of the season. So, of course, I mean, every team at this point, I think that the Abjurd has been able to play against Apex, and so they, of course, will in turn have a pretty good idea of what they're going up against with Apex.
Yeah.
So, and again, not having Ostrich there and having H-Man instead, I mean, pros and cons, of course, but one of those cons being the fact that H-Man is a new member to the team, so of course a little bit of some roster instability there, whatever that might mean to them. So at this point, I expect we're going to be seeing Abjurd going 7-0 on the season.
Probably,
I also expect we're going to be seeing Spooky and PZ 5-2 on the season, and then of course PZ moving on second place. At least that's my interpretation.
Good predictions, and I could definitely agree with those. And I mean, still 2 weeks of play left. We never know what some teams might bring out of the back pocket. Who knows? We could see. I mean, we saw Final Form almost take down PZ today.
Almost.
I mean, you could definitely see Apex almost. I mean, you could definitely see Apex. I mean, as take down the Abjurd. And I mean, you said earlier on that you thought Spooky and PZ were the ones that could take him down. I think Apex might have a shot if they play to their strengths and see what they can bring out.
No.
You don't think they've got any shot whatsoever? Well, I think they have a shot. No. I'm not saying you're gonna do it, but the Apex guys, they're a good bunch, and with H-Man coming in, they definitely play a little bit different style, definitely. Tarsus on the Necromancer going up against Nos. I mean, that will be a interesting matchup, to say the least, for them.
Yeah, I definitely think it's going to be a good series. I definitely think that it's going to be really fun to watch. It's going to be cool to see how it plays out. I give it to Abjurd, man. I give it to Abjurd.
Now, looking just back at that last set that we had between Spooky and the Abjurd, I mean, a little bit of a different approach, it felt like, from Spooky taking on a different composition. Do you think we're going to be seeing that from them in their future games?
You mean Spooky's composition?
Spooky with the triple Revenant, double Mesmer. I mean, we saw that from Final Form, but, that's not necessarily their thing.
I think that we'll definitely see it again, unless they come up with something else in the interim. I mean, they definitely have toyed with Scrapper. They've toyed with, obviously, Necromancer, as we saw, but I think that's something that they're very comfortable with. I mean, Sunfish is very comfortable on Revenant. He's very comfortable on Guardian. He's very comfortable on the Necromancer. So, I mean, at this point, I think that they're going to be going for that as their default setup, 2 Mesmer, 3 Rev, at least until things change with 26. Obviously, again, that those changes on 26 are going to mean a lot for teams going into the season finals. But, we are going to have to wait and see, I guess.
All right. And speaking of that last game, we have 5Gauge from the Abjurd ready to talk to us about that 2-0 set victory over Spooky. Pretty impressive win, especially there on Legacy. How are you guys feeling?
Hey, we're feeling pretty good about that 2-0 win. I actually have the shakes from those games. Those are some good games for us. I was a bit nervous going into that matchup for myself personally about getting farmed by a carry on Necro. So I was a little bit worried about that. But it turned out to be fine. We were able to overcome that little matchup there that I was a bit worried about, and play a pretty solid game and finish the match. 500 points.
So
Feels good, man.
so obviously, they tried to countercop you first, going with the Necromancer to play against you, and then second one going with the Viper Rev to go against Nos instead. I mean, were you guys worried at all going into this matchup that maybe you guys had a shot at losing? I mean, what kind of things did you guys do to I mean, of course, I saw your face there. Of course, you had a shot, but I mean, was there anything that you guys had to play a little bit differently? I mean, for the Forest match, I mean, everybody was everywhere. Everybody was all over the place. Was that one that you definitely were really concerned about at all?
When it comes to 4 mesmers on one map, being all around the place is pretty much a given. Like Portal is just everyone's here, there, and everywhere. But when it comes to the comps we ran and stuff like that, I think that definitely the Necro was a really ballsy choice, and I have to give some props to Sunfish for pulling that out, the carry on Necro. And it is a very risky build. Like Necros have this awesome abilities you guys have saw with our matches to speed the game up and get kills and capture points and actually, the game to go forward and end. But Necros also speed up their own demise too. So it kind of is a two-way street. With enough support for a Necro, like the NG brings a lot of support, like the stealth gyro and good resing potential itself. So you can kind of support a Necro and make it work. So our comp is very dependent on all of the pieces working together in unison. It's a pretty well thought out comp, I think, at least. And we're pretty happy with how everything turned out today. And the Revenant that they pulled the second game was probably just a result of him not having the success on Necro that he had hoped he'd have, is what I think that was.
All right, well, looking at our standings, you guys sitting atop everything, you've basically punched your ticket to the season finals. You guys have to feel pretty good about that. But looking at that second spot, any insight on Apex, Spooky, PZ there?
Well, that's so up in the air all the time. See, like the power strength of Apex, Spooky, and PZ, it really shifts quite a bit every week, it seems like. So it's too early to call. Like, it depends on who plays better on the day of, because I believe it will, correct me if I'm wrong, it will come down to, I think the last 2 weeks of the Pro League, it'll be the teams facing off to see who gets second, if I'm not mistaken. It's pretty even now between for the fight for second, so we think that'll be a great week to watch for sure.
At this point, it comes down to if Apex wants a shot, they have to beat you. So, I mean, and in your POV, I assume that you think that you're going to be winning that one. But of course, it's always up for discussion, I guess. You never know if there's going to be an upset. But then moving on, PZ has games against Easy Peasy, and they have their other game against Zero Counterplay. So at least in my thought process is, if I'm thinking about that analytically, I say PZ wins both of those games, moves on to 5-2. And now Spooky has pretty much the same setup moving forward as well, where they're going to be going up against teams at the bottom of the bracket. So they're not going to be facing each other off. Every one of those teams has faced each other. So Apex has the win over.
Okay.
Apex has the win over PZ. PZ has the win over Spooky, and Spooky has the win over Apex. So at this point, I mean, if Apex beats you, it's a 3-way. But if Apex cannot beat you, which in my mind I don't see it happening, but we'll see what happens. If Apex doesn't win, then it's going to come down to PZ versus Spooky, and if they both win both of their last 2 games, then it'll be a tiebreaker going in PZ's favor.
Yeah, so we'll keep our focus face on for one more week and see if we can hold that against Apex. Then we'll be pretty much in the clear, I think. So we feel pretty good.
So looking forward, last question. I mean, we just mentioned that you did basically punch your ticket. Now that you guys are 5-0, you have all the victories that you need to have to make sure that you have solidified your place going towards the season finals. Do you have any insight into what you guys are looking forward to, at least in terms of EU teams that you're looking out for, anything like that?
We are most looking forward to fighting the EU teams that are currently dominating right now, and they've switched to the meta that we've kind of encountered here on NA as well too, the double Rev and double Mesmer setup. So we're looking to we're really excited about a different kind of meta being in place, because if anyone didn't know already who's watching this, we're going to be having a bit of a change up when the season finale comes off the LAN event. So it'll be a different balance patch as well too. So things should change up. All the builds will be to be discovered again, pretty much. Thief, Warrior, we have to test every single build in the game before we get to go to the LAN. So that's going to be a lot of work we have ahead of us to find the best comp, the best strategies.
Yeah, it'll be almost 3 weeks exactly that you guys will all have. So good luck.
That's not a long time.
Yeah.
There's been builds that have slept for a lot longer than 3 weeks that have been super meta impacting. So who knows what's going to happen at the LAN? It's totally up for anyone to take, depending on how well they adapt to the meta and see things no one else saw.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us. Any last shout-outs to your fans before we let you go?
All the fans, everyone in the Guild Wars 2 channel. Shout out to you guys.
All right. Well,
Thanks for
thank you.
watching.
Thank you for joining us, and congrats on your victory over Spooky. That was 5 gauge from the Abjured. That was our final match of the evening. So let's go ahead and take a look at our current standings that we have after our 5th week of Pro League action. As we just talked with the Abjured, of course, sitting atop everything with 15 points, that 5-0 record. Tied at second, Spooky, Apex, and PZ.
Yeah, so following them will be a 3-way tie between Easy Peasy, Final Form, and Never Lucky. And then, of course, in last place, unfortunately, Zero Counterplay has yet to get any progress at all at this point. But, you know, they still are a team to be reckoned with. They still have proven that they have something to prove, and Never Lucky moving forward a little bit. So definitely an interesting thing. Again, those 3 teams tied for second place there, Spooky, Apex, and PZ.
The battle for second. I mean, that's it's going to be pretty intense. Any last thoughts before we part ways?
Ooh, definitely some interesting matches today. Interesting to see the Necro. I mean, Chase was talking about how it speeds up the gameplay. Definitely like to see that. Teams opting for things that have a little bit more. I use this term a lot today because I wanted to kind of push this a little bit more lethality. There we go. You know, a more aggressive approach might actually kind of tip the scales a little bit more and get you away from these situations where even though you have a victory, you know, kind of pushing a little bit, you do have a 1 cap, you don't have anything to kind of make it really kind of like really push it to the point where you're going to be able to tip the scales in your favor. And that was kind of the struggle we saw in game 3, where no team could really get really far ahead in 2 of those maps. And you know, if you opt for things like the Necromancer or potentially something more offensive, then you could potentially, if you make the right moves, push the tip the scales in your favor. So.
All right. Well, if you happen to miss any of today's action, you can always follow along on social media, catch all the updates that were happening over on Facebook and Twitter at ESL GW2.
And of course, also go over to our Twitters. Yep. Mine will be Twitter. Mine will be CT Hurix, and Storm will be at Game with Storm. So if you want to go over to our Twitters, we have a gym giveaway actually. So, just follow us, and then also retweet that latest tweet, so you guys have an opportunity to win those gems. Again, CT Hurix, and then Game with Storm. So.
All right. Well, we will be back next week with our 6th week of Pro League matchups. That will be the same time as today. That's 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. So